Well, you never know until because we have it
All right,
going fine.
we may have sound now.
Well, can't you see what happened to that thing on the side where everybody signs in and yells at you?
I've got
It's
that.
there.
It's there.
Jamie Coulter said no sound, but I'm showing sound now on the.
Got sound. Ted Mandel says got sound, and he's our frequent.
What
flyer.
is it? What was the problem?
I think the connection on my computer,
It's
Okay.
on. I can tell my media thing.
All right.
All right, we're back.
And what was it that time? Same thing?
I think we've got a funky connection here. We're going to bring out the duct tape now.
All right.
I'm going to wrap that little cord around there, and voila.
The little sound part of the plug, I bet.
Yeah, it's just one of those little mini plugs that plugs into the side of your laptop.
I can't believe we're going to be told to shelter in place, practice social distancing, and stay away from crowds. In larger cities, it's going to be really difficult to do that. Imagine trying to do that in Philadelphia or Baltimore, L.A. or New York. New York City is beyond my comprehension. We got millions upon millions of people crammed into small geographic locations trying to avoid contact with other people. Good luck with that, especially knowing that 99% of the people are wholly unprepared to sustain themselves for 2 damn weeks without having to go to a store and then throw that whole thing just in time for the delivery system. What are they thinking? This is just unreal. Okay, I see your panic and I raise you 2 more panics. What are we playing here? Some kind of crazy ass poker game?
We're playing CYA because worst case scenario, nobody wants to get caught. Like, well, you should have done that. You should have done this. And so they're going, okay, we'll make it way draconian. We'll nip it in the bud.
Here's a hint. You can't make everybody happy.
Well, this is not about making people happy. This is about politicians trying to save their hide. Granny died because, Councilman so-and-so voted against the COVID quarantine.
We're still nowhere on that where they're closer, right? Because Rand Paul's got the coronavirus and he's in seclusion or whatever. And same thing with Mitt Romney. How did that go? Are we still fighting over that? Because I've seen no closure on that yet.
Well, I'm going to give you guys a heads up, all right? April Fool's Day is going to be canceled this year because no made-up garbage could match the unbelievable crap that's going on right now. There's not a way. Close to 1 billion people are in lockdown across the globe. And the World Health Organization issued this last night. China has been so transparent in dealing with this flu. Kiss my foot.
No kidding. China, if they'd been upfront and accepted help from day one, I think we would be a lot further along in battling this and actually having some real facts to go on. Our researchers don't trust the facts coming out of China.
No.
It's like when they had Chernobyl in Russia. Nobody wants to air their dirty laundry and admit that they have some kind of problem.
And they have no free press to go digging. Now, we can talk as much as we want about how our American press is lazy and doesn't do nearly enough digging and all toe the party line for the Democrats. But we are much better off than they are, the Chikoms are, or the Ruskis.
I said this before, we've got elected officials, especially governors, shutting down entire industries, deeming them non-essential. And the one truly non-essential industry just keeps chugging along. This time of, I guess, national crisis. And it's because everybody is panicking. The corporate news media has proven itself to be entirely non-essential. Blake talked about Fox News. Everybody's in separate studios this morning. This political media is truly unsuited for this moment. You've got sensationalism. You've got lack of content. You got Sean Penn talking about what he would do. He was talking about the military. Spicoli.
Spicoli.
What?
Yes, you got it right, Spicoli.
Spicoli talking about the military. Are you kidding me? I would have turned this over to the military at the first sign of danger.
It's not.
What are you talking about? Martial law?
The military's trained to blow things up.
Yeah, well, Rocco and I used to talk about that all the time. We turned them into pizza delivery boys. Not that there's anything wrong with that. We're going to talk to Catherine Dane, who runs Domino's. Sensationalism, lack of content, their need to harm Trump no matter what, their embarrassment over previous claims of existential threats regarding Trump. They're in a bad situation here on every display, at every presser. Did you see that thing that popped up last night? Coronavirus task force, in effect. And I thought, oh, geez. Now, instead of just kicking the can down the road, we've got some professional can kickers getting together, coming up with great ideas. That thing that they tried to stick on the stimulus package yesterday, ease the Postal Service debt, guarantee same-day voter registration. Excuse me?
These are the same people who are supposed to care about you that are stopping the federal aid program for this COVID-19 virus so they can get their pet green energy, federal employee collective bargaining, postal bailout nonsense that could not pass on its own.
Reduce greenhouse emissions among airlines while we fly around in our corporate jets. New credits for solar and wind energy. Holy mackerel.
There's part of that I don't mind that's not not putting on there, but McConnell's working over. They're still battling over parts of the measure that lets you take a hardship withdrawal of up to $100,000 from your 401 retirement plan. Normally, you get a 10% penalty for taking it out before 59 and a half. But what they're thinking here is that they'll let you withdraw it. You'll still have to pay the income tax, but they'll give you 3 years to pay it back and to pay it, and then you'll be able to put money back. So,
and listen to me. The city has guaranteed their employees a 7% payback on their 401ks. So while the rest of us, our houses burned down, or we're fiddling while Rome burns, they get a guarantee. How is the city going to be able to pay that? That's going to bankrupt the city.
Well, it's certainly not going to do any good for my property taxes.
You've got the media is a public health crisis. The media and the elected officials trying to outdo each other to prove how much we care. Bars, restaurants, offices, libraries, schools shut down. I haven't seen pictures of Houston, but my daughter tells me that the freeways are deserted. Can you imagine Times Square or Los Angeles freeways deserted? The media goes on without a break. We're spreading nothing but distrust, doubt, and panic. Everything in the United States cannot shut down.
Where do you draw the line at what is an essential industry? I mean, somebody's got to make the brake pads for the trucks that deliver our food. You know, where does it stop?
Well, if I were mayor or county judge, I would not suggest you shelter in place. The politicians and the media only know how to do one thing, and that's take a crisis and make it even worse.
Well, I tell you, you want my prediction for today is there's going to be a huge run again on the grocery stores.
There's not anything in the grocery stores. Hummel is in line at Walmart, and they're letting the old people shop first. I get that. I get that. The doors opened about 18 minutes ago. Old Folks Day, over 60 only for the first hour.
I think that's...
Those of you who have wondered what it's like to live in a third world country, good morning. Come on in.
Welcome to socialism.
Welcome to it. You're exactly right. This is just beyond belief.
It's all over, though. They're only letting 100 people into Home Depot. They had buckets placed every 6 feet along the outside of Home Depot, and we're only letting 100 people in the store in time. I waited in line for about 15 minutes at Home Depot yesterday to get some more moving boxes.
Well, they allow the hardware stores in one of those shelter-in-place things. You need hardware, you need electricians, you need plumbers, and what if your hot water heater blows up and you got to replace that?
So I've got an air conditioner I've been trying to get my home warranty company to fix for 10 days, and they came out yesterday, and he said, it needs a fan motor. I go, Yes, I know that. You told me 10 days ago. I was told you were arriving today to replace the fan motor. Oh, I don't have a fan motor. I've got to go buy it. So the parts store for air conditioning has to stay open.
Yeah, for sure. What we're talking about that they missed when we're on the air was that Nueces County is considering a shelter-in-place order for today, as another 6 cases of coronavirus were confirmed yesterday. That's why Lago and I were going back and forth last night.
Yeah, well, the rumor last night was they were going to do it at a 3 o'clock press conference today, but they canceled that press conference. I think what happened is word got out they were talking about doing it, and the mayor and the judges and everybody else's phones just blew up with people saying, what kind of fool do you think you are doing this?
The county does not have the same protection from lawsuits as the state. There is no protection there. You could get a class, what do you call them?
Class action suit.
Class action suit from business and sue the county into bankruptcy.
I'm not sure that's the case, Lago. I think they've still got sovereign immunity for purely governmental functions as a political subdivision of the state.
Tell me somebody that has more standing than the business.
Well, the standing isn't the issue. The rule is you can't sue the government for doing a governmental entity. You can sue them for doing something non-governmental, like if the city runs the convention center, or they've contracted it out, but they're involved in it. That's not a traditional government function. But if you trip over a crack in the sidewalk, maintaining the sidewalks is a typical governmental function, and they've got sovereign immunity for that unless they've waived it in some statute.
I don't think there's protection enough for the county, and this making a panic situation worse. I don't know. Evidently, they are handing out crack at these emergency management meetings, and they're trying. Who could come up with the most bizarre idea? It's not the government's job to jump in here and protect me from myself. I know there are a lot of Democrats who are thinking this is the greatest thing since sliced bread, but it's not. Well, you want this to last a long time? Here it comes, Jack.
I just want to point out they were talking about a shelter in place for today, but they canceled the press conference where they were supposedly going to announce it. So we're good today. And Mark Gottlich on Facebook puts it out. He asks, so have we been ordered to, quote, suffer in place starting today?
Exactly.
We have not been ordered to stay at home yet.
Here's what the deal was. The Nueces County Public Health District began processing COVID-19 testing yesterday using an existing laboratory at the health district. Monday morning, 20 samples were collected. 17 were collected in the drive-through specimen collection site, and 3 inpatient samples were processed locally. Late Monday, testing was completed on the 20 samples. 14 were negative. 6 tested positive for COVID-19, of which one is not a resident of Nueces County, which is why the math didn't work out in my life.
Did they hospitalize them all, put them on ventilators?
No.
They've been notified and educated about safety precautions for both them, their family, and the community. All positive cases were travel-related. Costa Rica, Ireland, Houston, New Orleans, Spain. Not considered community spread. So hang on to your corset, and we're okay with that. With Monday's testing results, the total COVID-19 cases in Nueces County is now at 6. Again, that other guy was from New York, and it was not part of they were just using the test lab here. So that's why they're considering sheltering in place.
This is just so wrong-headed. It's just wrong, folks. Wash your hands. For crying out loud, keep them away from your face.
Now, did anybody see Dan Patrick last night on Tucker Carlson?
I saw him, but
I saw the blowback from. Was it the one about the blow up the economy or not blow up the economy?
Yeah, he said, I'm 70 years old, and I want my kids to live in the America, or my grandkids to live in the America I grew up in, and if that means I have to die,
I'm
so
ready.
be it. Yeah,
I'm not going to live in fear either.
He was trying to be noble, so everybody's saying, yeah, well, it's okay to die just as long as you save the economy.
Okay, I have a real good friend who has a father who is elderly, and he said, let me find the text here. Go ahead.
While you were looking for that, Ricky Torres on Facebook said, if it's not community spread, why shelter in place?
That's kind of what Lago's talking
Duh.
about. I got a text from Jim Lavelle, your tech guy. He says, food for thought. You know, the only people who have to follow a shelter-in-place order are the hardworking men and women who probably have no jobs to return to when this S-blank is over. The large homeless population is not impacted by this decision, and they are the ones who lack sanitary facilities to wash their hands and other areas to keep themselves clean. The threat of spreading this or any other virus is through our large homeless population. Examples, New York, L.A.
Now, some of these bigger cities are renting unused hotel rooms and putting the homeless in the hotel rooms.
L.A. was the first to do that.
But they let them out to go use the restroom on the street, right?
Yeah, sure. Governor Newsom, he's all over that. Everybody's erring on the side of caution. They don't have enough information to support that level of fear. I mean, some elected official has to be thinking, this is a bad idea. Joe McComb has been a small businessman forever. He should have said that in that emergency meeting. Hey, hold up, take a breath. You're going to kill us before the virus gets a chance to.
You got to be really bold to say that, and Dr. Rose was about the only one that did that yesterday, and he, like, what an idiot, or what, it's irresponsible because nobody wants to take that chance of having, like, oh my God, well, you had this horrible virus. Why didn't you blow everything up and make everybody separate?
Well, here's the other thing. I don't know that they have the power to do any of the crap that they're talking about doing. The mayor of Miami was interviewed yesterday, admitted that their city attorney shut them down on some of the crazy stuff that they wanted to do.
Blake would know more about that.
He said, you can't do that. You're flying in the face of the things that are in the Constitution, and those powers are not granted to you.
So I think it's getting without due process. I forgot what the statute was.
Well, you've got the right to peaceably assemble. You've got the right to travel. And obviously there are emergency situations, but how do you define the emergency? I mean, there's a lot of legal questions around there, but I understand it. I understand that you've got to listen to somebody, and the CDC are the experts. But Dr. Rose pointed out that a lot of this stuff is potentially political. They want Trump's economy to fail, and shutting down small business, which is the backbone of America, is one of the surest ways to make it fail. I tell you, if I were not a person who followed things closely, and I just kind of looked at when the mail came and saw my 401k had lost half its value, I would be ticked at Trump. But I think this is going to backfire on the Democrats because there are so many people at home, and more people are getting sucked into the 24/7 coronavirus telethon fear-mongering on cable news. And I think we're going to see a little bit more educated voter this time around just because they've been home watching this and have had time to watch the news when usually they're at work. So there's potential upside here. I'm not a gloom and doomer, but what really also convinces me that this is politics is the stuff that the Democrats are trying to pile on the corona relief bill. I mean, bail out the post office, collective bargaining for federal employees, making the airlines who are suffering badly now institute carbon offsets and go green. I mean, where does it stop? This is like a Christmas tree with all the ornaments the Democrats want hung on it.
Well, I hate to jump in the middle of this and say this, but this is how demagogues get you to move to, oh, please take all my rights away because I don't feel safe. This is it. This is a giant step in that direction.
It's a giant step in the wrong direction. And this is just giving the government more power. And whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, you can't trust a big government.
No, you can't.
And the more power you give them, the more they can mess with your life.
The media and elected officials only know how to do one thing, and that's make a crisis worse. You take the crisis, you make it worse. These idiots are going out of their way to prove just how non-essential they are. How essential are you if your idea of informing the public includes inviting actor Sean Penn on to discuss his response to the Wuhan flu? Or
what's
Lieutenant Sulu. George, this was a George Takei tweet yesterday. Tune in alert. I will be talking with David Gura on MSNBC live today to share my thoughts on Donald Trump's racist term for COVID-19. Are you kidding me?
That's par for the course with
it's time for Sulu to put on a red shirt.
These people are non-essential.
A red velour shirt.
Well, no, you in Star Trek, the guys in the red shirts are always the ones that never quite made it back from the away missions. Well, but I mean, and what is Jeff Spicoli, the Sean Penn's?
Nothing.
What's his most famous line? People on lewd shouldn't drive.
Yeah.
We mentioned yesterday he does have experience with infectious diseases, having been married to Madonna, so he is somewhat of a CDC expert.
Well, these guys who sit on panels discussing Trump's mean tweets and xenophobic attacks against the Chinese Communist government, they're the people who are not essential. Not the Americans whose businesses employ millions, not the Americans who work these jobs that fuel our economy. But you get faced with a pandemic, and God, the media never asks itself what its responsibility to the country, damn it, might be. Doubling down on efforts to defeat Trump and elect a Democrat. Instead, it's amplified the misinformation, undermined the country's leadership, and helped spread defeatism and scare people half to death. We don't need idiots like this undermining the country. Hell, we don't need these idiots at all.
Well, it's certainly brought to the forefront that the people in Washington, D.C. that are behind a lot of this truly aren't concerned about us.
Well, the people that fuel the engine of the economy are left in limbo while bimbos like like Sean Penn and George Takei and Nicole Wallace prattle on about this might be Trump's Katrina.
And we talked about that a couple of episodes ago, that part of the reaction, I do think, is driven both by Trump fearing that this might be his Katrina, and the Democrats playing on that. I think that is something that is in the back of their mind. I have the greatest respect for Trump because he is not a politician, but the people around him are professional politicians, and I am sure that his advisors have said, you have got to be on the forefront of this, or it's going to be your Katrina moment. I guarantee you those words have been said to Trump a number of times.
I don't think it's working for them. I don't think Trump is paying attention to that. Our elite is full of self-important morons who contribute nothing more but more dumb at a time. And the only thing we seem to have a surplus of is dumb.
And Trump is taking the lead here, and he is coming across as knowledgeable about the situation. They did a 2-hour press conference yesterday, and Trump was up answering the questions. And I know when somebody's pivoting. The trick the politicians have is it's called pivoting. When you're asked a question that you don't want to answer, you answer the question you wished they asked. Well, that's a really good question, Jim, but what's really important here is, and you just don't see Trump do that. Now, I think I only saw him pivot. I only watched about an hour of it, but I think I only saw him pivot once or twice. And I don't think it was because he was avoiding the question. I don't think he knew the answer.
I think yesterday he was more apologetic. Remember when they were asking him, the Alexander guy or whatever it was, asked him that question, and it was pretty, what do you tell all these people? He calmed them down. He kind of was not so feisty and combative yesterday, and seemed more into the fact that so many people are dying. He gave kudos to Mario Cuomo and how they were working together, and how they got 10,000 tests run through New York City in the most important parts.
How did we go from Democrat governors and bipartisanship in the Senate 2 days ago to what we have now with $35 million to repair the Kennedy Center as part of the COVID bill? It's Nancy Pelosi.
She came back from California, and all this went down on Sunday, I believe.
This all lays right at Nancy Pelosi's feet.
The other part of the thing we haven't talked about is the stimulus package of what the average Corpus Christian family of four will get. It's something around $3,000. I think
they're shooting for $3,000 for a family of four, but there are caps on it. If you make X amount of dollars, it's
like $75,000 for one single person, and $150 if you get, I guess, $1,200 for each adult, and then $500 if you have for each child in there. And that's the thing is with the Republican version, it was just for 1 month, or maybe, or however long this lasts. That's the reason you have all the.
And let me tell you, I think there are people who need help, but welcome to the test drive for socialism.
And so I was talking with Dr. Silverman yesterday, and he said, "Well, I said the thing is, you have wealthier people buy more stuff. Their mortgage is more expensive. They, you get in trouble too. That's the big deal. The more you make, the more you spend." So his idea, or my idea, is like, well, you kind of got to grease the skids everywhere, because even if you're making $100,000 and you can't pay your mortgage because you have no income, and that's a problem.
And if you're a millionaire, you're invested in the stock market, and you're now a half millionaire.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I don't even want to talk about my 401k. Pamela said we're going to look at. I said no, we're not. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm going to leave it like it is, and I refuse to get bogged down in that. I did look at it back when the tech bubble burst. I just kept my head down and doing the things that I needed to do to support my family. But with the government, it's like, what fuel can we add to this panic fire? I remember one time, you remember that show Monk?
Yep.
He said, they call it a panic room. I know that's a difficult concept for you, because for you, every room is a panic room. And that's where we are with our government leaders. They are so afraid to make a decision that goes against, or having the town sheriff get up and say, "Hey, hold it. We're not doing this. You got to calm down." How many times have we told you can't have a crowd mentality and go through things like this?
No, you always got to think for yourself. I mean, the crowd mentality is what's driving a rush on bottles of water. This is not a hurricane. The water's not going to get contaminated.
I kept seeing that yesterday. I was at HEB Plus, and it was very orderly, not a big zoo, but I haven't been there because we're on the air. We haven't been there at 8. 8 o'clock is a different story, but the people couldn't have been nicer over there. Even the customers and the clerks and those.
You are like the HEB wanderer, Tyler. I'm going to give you $50 and a grocery list, and you can just carry it with you as you wander through HEB. I need paper towels.
I looked for you.
I need eggs, and I need wipes.
I couldn't help you with the wipes. I could spare some eggs. My neighbor came over yesterday and said, "Hey, do you want some eggs? I've got eggs and a chub of ground beef. I got 2 things of ground beef, and I got 1 thing of eggs. They were not the ones I wanted, but they were nice. They finally had brown eggs."
Well, and after the show, I got my egg fix. I went to the drive-thru at Whataburger and got my Bob with jalapenos. So I mean, I need eggs to make things with. You know,
sure.
If you're going to fry something, you need an egg for the batter.
This is we're talking about this, apocalyptic thing right now, and this is the worldwide confirmed cases. This was yesterday. Obviously, things will go up a few thousand. This was yesterday. Worldwide confirmed cases 332,000. Worldwide deaths 14,510. It's probably 15,000. We had 50,000 people die of the flu in the U.S. last year. 50,000. Yep. You had 58,000 die in car wrecks.
Well, you have the U.S. numbers. Was it 42,000-ish infections and 600 deaths? Did we do the math on that? Percentage is pretty low.
It's 33,000.
It is low.
33,000. Well, this obviously needs to be updated, but this was as of March 23rd. U.S. confirmed cases 33,404. United States deaths 400. And then somebody came on. It's like 100 people just died today. Well, yeah, I mean, people die all the time, and it's probably more died falling off of a ladder. I mean, not that I'm making this small, but this is a big deal here. Considering if you look at all the flyover states, there's hardly anything going on, and that's why I think we gave Greg Abbott some crap yesterday, because he kicked the can down the road by not issuing a statewide, duck and cover, or whatever we call it, shelter in place.
And I'm happy he didn't.
Me too, because there are so many counties in Texas that have no infection whatsoever, and we were one of those until on Saturday.
Yep.
Well, most of those people were hanging around together. What's the big hoopla coronation thing where people go out and spend thousands on those beaded dresses?
You have the Buccaneer coronation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When are they going to do that now?
November.
Mm-hmm. Does that mean they can't wear white dresses? Well, I mean, it's important to them, I would think, right?
I think there are exceptions to the no white.
I don't know.
No white after.
I bet those etiquette following ladies that put that on would have a problem with that.
Oh no, there's also a debutante group here that does the white dress debutante.
They're all infected each other. They all infected each other.
How long can the virus stay on a bead, right?
It's
sequins.
You see, again, we are also, remember, we're hitting the 80s today, and what is it, 76 degrees, the virus doesn't survive long out in the wild.
Right.
So, it's getting better. And, I think some of these, Debbie and I were talking last night, and she was saying, what's the purpose of all these shelter in place and all that we're doing? I say, I think they're foolish, but I do see an upside to it. It's buying us some time to get into the warmer weather, which is naturally going to slow the spread, because flu season is the cooler months of the year. So as we get into the summer, there'll be less spread. Plus, it buys us time to look for a cure. I think this is really going to drop way down as it gets warmer. We may have a resurgence come fall, but hopefully by then we'll have gotten some treatments or even a cure or a vaccine. So I do think some of these measures are, if nothing else, they're buying us time. But boy, that time we are buying is expensive to what it's doing to our economy in this country and even in this city. We went to Water Street last night to try out Richard's Takeout.
Yep.
I had a hankering for fried shrimp. So we called ahead, we ordered, we placed our order, we drove down there and parked in front, called them and told them we were there.
Meters
Yeah,
covered.
They're hooded and they got little cones out there. And called them, told them we were there. About 5 minutes later, this guy in rubber gloves
Really?
came out and delivered our food and took my credit card, went in, swiped it, and handed it to me on a clipped to a wooden clipboard. I was a little concerned about the wooden clipboard.
No touching.
Yeah, but I signed it, and then I Purelled my hands and came home and enjoyed some delicious fried shrimp. But we were order number 5 for the whole day, and that was 6 o'clock.
Damn.
We'll pump them up later for sure, because that's we want to support the local. That's what's killing everything. It's like you can do all these things like a shelter in place, but I was told though most of these places they allow the takeout food.
Yeah.
They'll allow that. They'll allow the what I call.
There was a Caller Times article I saw online. I didn't pull it up, but it was something I thought about yesterday. Is we should be gathering a list of the places that are open. Because when you think I'm going to go out and get some food, what immediately comes to mind is, well, all right, well, Whataburger's got a drive-through. The burger places have the
Both
Burger
the TV
King.
stations have lists of restaurants that are open.
But I said, look, if I'm going to do this, I want to spread the wealth around to some people who probably need it more than Whataburger, because they're
the local homies. We want.
Yeah.
Whataburger's
not a local homie anymore.
Well, they employ people around here. That's why we're talking to Catherine Dane coming up at 7 o'clock with the Domino's location.
Even though it's Domino's, a national chain, it's locally owned. It's a franchise operation.
300 employees. I had no idea. So we'll talk to her and ask about.
Well, if things keep going like they are, I may be asking Catherine for a job so I could deliver pizzas.
I'll drive you around too.
Yeah, because that's interesting. We're starting to look at some advertising for this show, and we were talking yesterday. Who do you go to ask to advertise right now? I mean,
you can't.
Moody's. I mean, they're doing okay. You want to help these people, your local sponsors that have been with you all along. You want to help folks like Water Street. The island's got a lot of folks that Dragonfly is doing stuff. I actually have another term that was published in the Urban Dictionary last night. I came up with Ciscoing, and if you look, it's going to be published this afternoon. Ciscoing is where the restaurants take stuff out the back door and sell Cisco items to the general public, which a lot of folks are doing. Like, let's see.
Laguna Reef.
Yeah. I think that's a great idea because all these people standing in line, they go over there and there's nothing but chicken feet left at HEB. I mean, they're getting eggs, they're getting rice, they're getting potatoes.
I've been to HEB in the past week, 2 weeks, 3 times, and every time I go, the shelves get better and better. The only things that are bare are the dry pasta and rice and the paper goods and eggs.
Yesterday, you talked about, you've been talking about for 3 or 4 days. You said that HEB ought to take all those T-shirts and stuff like that for summer, and the little hats and stuff the spring breakers wear, and put pallets of stuff like, rice and beans and whatever. Yesterday, that's exactly what they had. They had pallets of mac and cheese. They had kids cereals. They had Doritos and potato chips. They had granola bars. And I went over there and I didn't know that there's a limit, but I found out. I got a bunch of tuna in water, Hill Country Fair stuff for protein.
Yeah.
I think I got 10 of them. And I went through the line and they go, oh, sorry, you got too many. And it was too many. So we'll post a list of what the limits are at HEB. I got 2 chubs of ground beef, 1 pound. I think they have that to 2. Their eggs, they limited at 2. The only thing that I couldn't find again was the toilet paper, and I was looking for paper towels for you, but they
I'll
didn't
give
have
you
that.
the old caller times. Yesterday when I was leaving here, I stopped over here behind me, and there was a Gone with the Wind. Is it a video?
Yeah.
And it got me to thinking about that movie. So, do you guys know any of the songs from the Civil War?
Just Dixie and whatever.
Yeah.
Hurrah for the bonnie blue flag that bears a single star. The Battle Hymn of the Republic.
Yep.
All right, just hum that to yourself, all right? While I do a little theater of the mind here. This is the story of a woman and a civilization going through a war with an unseen enemy that will leave no one unchanged in its aftermath. Scarlett O'Hara, a woman who can deal with a nation at war. Selfish bastards carrying off everything from disinfectant wipes, hand sanitizer, comfort food, and yes, toilet paper to hoard for themselves without any regard for their fellow man. What will she have to do to survive? The store shelves are barren. Amazon can't keep anything in stock. Lottie, whatever will she do? Much like the scene in Gone with the Wind, where a starving Scarlet hungrily pulls up a tiny radish to eat, our heroine can be heard to say, "As God is my witness, they're not going to lick me. I'm going to live through this, and when it's all over, I'll never be without toilet paper again. No, nor any of my folk. If I have to lie, steal, cheat, or kill, as God is my witness, I'll never be paperless again." And in the final scene, with tear-stained eyes uplifted in a sudden curious burst of hope, beneath all the turmoil of the great toilet paper crisis of 2020, we hear her say, "After all, tomorrow is another day." You're welcome.
Do the haunting theme from, well, we can't do it.
You know,
Gone with the Wind.
you should be doing audiobooks, Lago.
God, I'm just...
We may be all doing audiobooks, hold up for months at a time. I don't think we're going to go that long. Do you?
Yeah, I do.
Do you?
I'm afraid we are. I don't.
Look, we're talking about... The ante now is shelter in place. Who said check?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Everybody's raising. What is it? It's like, okay, we're sitting around a poker table, and you can tell the whiskey is flowing, and the Johnny Walker wisdom is running high, and everybody is raising. This is asinine.
The deal is the virus runs best in cool, dry climates, and it's cool and dry in the Northeast, and it's crowded. People are stacked upon each other. So until it gets hot, I guess in Toronto or Michigan or Detroit, we're going to be dealing with this and having this like, well, we better make it a little bit longer. We better make it last longer. Don't think so.
Well, we're going to have to take this on a state-by-state basis. So
but they said they weren't, though, because the CDC. Everybody wants to go by the CDC guidelines.
Yeah, it's a typical politician covering their behind.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to follow the CDC guidelines. Well, it doesn't apply because it's 100 degrees in Corpus Christi.
Yeah, but someone's like, he didn't follow the CDC guidelines. We ought to impeach him. That kind of thing.
Yep. You're right. Again, it's my mantra. Politicians live in fear of not getting reelected.
Well, I'm concerned about the Nueces County medical what do you call it?
City County Health Department, yeah.
Well, the guy in charge.
Yeah.
The Nueces County medical doctor.
Yep. Is it Adami?
Has he got Jell-O for a brain?
He's got his retirement thinking about for a brain, I would think, like and wanting to have continued employment. That's what I mean,
In fact, nobody is thinking about, okay.
That's why nobody complained about the pothole procedure for 10 years.
You're exactly right.
Don't want to make waves.
A national show or support for all this craziness that's going on in the news media, even Fox, for crying out loud. I mean, we talked about Spicoli earlier. Anderson Cooper hosted a town hall with world-renowned epidemiology and virology expert Sean Penn, and he was asked to I backed this up 4 times and wrote this down. He was asked to, quote, share his expertise on how the U.S. military could stop the spread of the Chinese virus everyone wants to refer to as COVID-19, so as not to stigmatize the pandemic's country of origin. Sean Penn will always be Jeff Spicoli, the Bud-loving high school burnout in Fast Times at Ridgemont Highs. This is what he said, quote, there's no greater humanitarian force on the planet than the United States military. That's not their job, bonehead. Continuing the quote, the logistical skills, commitment to service, their care for the people. It's really time to give the military the full breadth and command and control of this operation. I wouldn't blink. I would have put command and control in their hands a month ago, certainly today. Hey.
Boy, do we not learn from history. And
no.
I've got a correction. The Health District staff, Annette Rodriguez, is the Director of Public Health. Dr. MPH is her title, so it's Annette Rodriguez.
She's been out there at the press conferences, though.
Somebody is giving our elected officials the wrong information. Do they even have time to listen to what's going on? People are recovering from this bout of flu very well. God. Sean Penn has no medical background, no military background.
I don't even think he played a doctor on TV.
Well, he did play a 19th century doctor in a movie last year. He's never served a day in the military. He's a wife beater. He adores the murderous drug cartel leaders like El Chapo Guzman. In 2016, he interviewed Guzman for the drug lord for the Rolling Stone. The interview unintentionally made it possible for U.S. law enforcement to locate and capture that slime ball. So this socialist douchebag has repeatedly drawn criticism for his activist efforts, even attempting to blend it with journalism by visiting Iraq after the U.S. invasion in 2005. It's little more than an attack on President Trump's handling of the national health emergency, and it offered nothing in the way of rational information. Instead, it promotes panic and hysteria, and that seems to be the only thing on our elected officials' minds. Let's spread the panic and hysteria even further. My God, this is not a contest to fill up airtime with idiotic ideas and an intellectually underdeveloped actor. This is unserious and disgraceful.
I'm with you on that, Lago. Hey, if you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, we would certainly appreciate it if you would share it, get the word out that we are online, and have people give us a listen. Facebook's algorithms kind of clamp us down as we get more and more people, but your sharing it alerts your friends that we are here, and we certainly appreciate that. You are listening to Lago in the Morning with Blake and Tyler, your neighborhood radio, a production of BLT Talk, LLC. We will be right back.
Recording artist Kevin Fowler.
Oh, I love the sound of fast boats racing
southern sky. Yeah, I'm a hell-bent 100% Texan till I die. Like lots of 100% Texans, I love having a good time on the water. But remember, nobody's waterproof. Play it safe. Wear a life jacket and designate a driver for the boat and for a safe ride home. Follow these tips and there'll be a lot more days for you to play in this great state of Texas. Nobody's waterproof, yeah, that's a hell-bent truth, and you know it ain't no lie.
Sponsored by Texas Parks and Wildlife.
Hi, everyone. I'm Dave Dixon for On the Road in Texas. Olympic and Tour de France champ Lance Armstrong isn't the only Texan who's serious about bicycling. Now that the weather is so nice, lots of adults and kids are enjoying bike rides. Trooper Sparky Dean has more.
The same traffic laws that apply to motorists also apply to cyclists. Ride your bike in the same direction cars are traveling and near the curb. At night, you need a light on the front of your bike and a red reflector on the back. Check your brakes to make sure they work. You should be able to make the bike skid on dry, level pavement. And please don't coast through intersections. Stop means everybody, motorists and cyclists.
Trooper Dean has one other important safety reminder. Use your head. Wear a helmet. For the Texas Department of Transportation and the Texas Department of Public Safety, I'm Dave Dixon reminding you to save a life.
Hiya! Queen of All Knowledge here, reminding you, creeps out there on the internet hack, scam, and trick savvy cyber users every day. But we can fight back. It's as easy as IC3. If you're a victim of online crime, don't give up. Visit IC3, the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center. Your tips help the FBI track down cyber criminals around the world. Report your crime to www.ic3.gov today.
Lago in the Morning with Blake and Tyler. We're on Facebook this morning. Just put Lago in the Morning in your search engine. You'll find it. Please send notice to all your friends. We have Catherine Dane on the hotline. Catherine, good morning. I appreciate your time this morning.
Good morning. You're welcome. It's early.
Oh yeah, but you guys are always up and at 'em.
I like pizza
early.
for breakfast.
Yeah, so do I.
Oh, Daniel, I've been eating pizza for breakfast since college.
Cold pizza, right? And sometimes you eat couch pizza.
Definitely.
Couch pizza when you're in college, the one you find between the cushions the next morning.
I've never gone there.
That's why.
When Daniel and I were first married, when Daniel and I were first married, I would order pizza Friday night while he was working, and I'd eat it Friday night, Saturday night.
It's all the major food groups, and the tomato sauce is really good for you. I really appreciate the time, and you're hiring more people to deliver pizza. Is that right?
Well, we're definitely hiring. Well, we're hiring all the time. We're a transition business. We have lots of people come in. They work part-time, full-time, kids in college, and then, they do their bit and then they move on. And so we're constantly working on getting people in. And at this time of year, we're entering spring. It warms up. People want to eat a little bit more. So, yeah, we're definitely hiring. We could use a few people at every store would help.
All right. What's the what have you seen? You've been really busy with the phone delivery.
So we definitely we've got our online with the app where you can get to Domino's.com or you can put an app on your phone. So we're always busy with delivery. We're definitely doing contactless delivery right now. So if they want us to put the pizza, on their porch or on a chair or a table outside, we're doing that with carryout as well, trying to keep the contact and the distance from people as much as possible. That way we can protect everybody in our stores as well as customers.
So have you done a risk assessment for, it seems like as your people deliver, they're coming in contact with a lot of different people. Sure, it's not a group, but if I were delivering pizzas, maybe 50 or 60 people in a night, are you taking precautions there?
Yes. So we've got, certainly our standard procedures for food safety are in place all the time. And then we're fortunate to have the resources of Domino's corporate, and they have been in touch. Rich Allison, our CEO, has talked, I believe, directly, or at least close directly to the president. And in that group, so the CDC and WHO, they're gathering information from everyone. Plus, we also have a bit of an advantage of our international stores. So they've been gathering good practices from them as well. So one of the things that we've done is this contact list, and the exact details are there on our website, where they can set the pizza down. We can put it in a plastic bag. Our drivers are taking extra precautions with washing hands and sanitizing. We're doing that in the stores more than we normally do. So then once it gets to the customer, the driver doesn't have to have any personal contact. If the customer pays online, then with a credit card, then, we don't even have to have a cash interaction there. So there's lots of ways to reduce that contact. Drivers can stay back, leave the pizza, get back in their car to where they've kept the least amount of interaction possible.
Okay, if we want to sign up for the Domino's delivery, do we just put in the search engine Domino's Corpus Christi?
No, Domino's.com. It goes through the national site.
Oh, it does?
And are sales up? Are your sales up?
I think we're doing well for what we normally do. People are eating. We've always got the phones ringing. We've always got the internet going. So I know that we're keeping people busy for sure.
Yesterday, when we talked yesterday to set this up, Catherine, this is Tyler. You said that a lot of folks are doing what I'm doing. They're freezer diving and pulling stuff out because they're sitting at home. But there's nothing that beats, just when you want something like, gosh, I sure would like some pizza. Have you had any of the drivers come back and say somebody's left them a toilet paper roll for a tip?
I haven't heard from any of mine getting toilet paper, but I did see one of the national throughout. I have a couple of websites I'm on, and there were some other drivers coming in with toilet paper as tips. So I know at this point they certainly appreciate it. Our drivers they're working a lot. They're working a lot of hours, but they don't have time. They don't have time to search the city. So definitely the tips are appreciated, but there's nothing like a good roll of toilet paper, I think, right now.
That's right.
This manufactured toilet paper shortage.
What's your biggest selling pizza, and do you have pizza that has pineapple on it?
Oh, well, pineapple and ham is my favorite.
Hawaiian pizza.
Side of ranch.
One of the biggest fights I ever got in my wife is we were playing one of these category games, and the category was pizza topping, and I said pineapple, and she would not believe me.
Yeah, Canadian bacon and pineapple. I first saw that. My cousin has a restaurant in Glacier, Washington in like 1970 something. I thought, man, but you know what? It's one of those things like black licorice that people either like it or they don't, or cilantro. But so I would think the most popular would be pepperoni. Was that
pepperoni? And then something that I didn't realize: black olives are popular.
Oh yeah, I love
and
those.
a black olive pizza. I can't even make a black olive pizza because I don't like black olives, but that's a popular one too. But pepperoni is definitely our most favorite, and followed by just plain cheese. Lots of kids don't eat anything else but a cheese pizza.
A lovely cheese pizza. Yeah.
I want to thank you again, Catherine, you and Daniel, for supporting the Big Shell cleanup. You've been with us for like 20 years, right?
Gosh, it seems like it. Yes, Big Shell.
Yeah,
that's one we always like to do. Daniel used to come out there. I finally had to stop him because his allergies and his immune system are not the strongest. So he would get sick for 2 weeks after being out there helping with all of what's in the air at that time of year.
I remember.
So
here's something else that put a damper on it. You had that F-250, the red F-250, and Daniel was out there one time and lost a transmission. And I
I
thought,
remember that.
Yes, I remember.
That thing was loaded down with pizza too. It just box after box after box.
no, it's like one of those things that's like Billy goes, "No good deed goes unpunished."
That's
And
exactly right.
That's how that went down. I can't thank you how much we thank you guys for doing that. It's been 100, 200 pizzas every year. And we ran out early, but we had hot dogs and chili cheese dogs. But it's one of those things that you all have been behind us when we had 150 people, and now we've got 1,400. So I want to thank you. You guys have been wonderful.
You're welcome.
Well, you guys
we
also
live here.
You also do a great job at the Junior Livestock Show. You guys do that add-on, and I really appreciate that. Thank you very much.
The kids at the Livestock Show are amazing.
Yeah.
Those are some of the nicest kids I've come in contact with, and we had a really good time out there this year.
You were going to say something. I interrupted you. Go ahead.
Oh, that's okay. And I have we live in this community. We're a part of this community, and I know that places like the Ronald McDonald House, the Purple Door, those are important to us. As are many other. There's so many organizations here. But when we can step in and help, we still, we have food people need to eat. I know even at like Ronald McDonald, they generally have people come in and prepare the meals, and they're not able to do that.
Yeah.
So I know we've done some pizzas for them. We're trying to do that at least once a week.
Well, what time do y'all start delivering?
10:30 a.m.
Ah, okay. Just in time for me to get off here and have some pizza.
You don't put cutie segments on pizza, do you, yet? The Lago's got some, I guess he can add to his own. I was out.
Nope.
I was downstairs letting Hummel in, and I didn't get a chance to ask this. But you've got plans for the shelter in place thing because they let takeout and stuff go. So have you? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, certainly at my house, I always have enough food for a month. So I haven't had to go to the grocery store since for at least a week and a half now. But that's at my house. I know in the stores with the shelter in place, food delivery and food service is considered an essential element for what we need right now. So not everybody has access to get to HEB. Not everybody has access to stand in line. So definitely we want to make sure that people have access to pizza. But then that means we also have to be really, really safe.
Yeah.
So we're working on everybody being really, really safe in the stores and sanitizing and keeping distance. And then when they go home, they need to stay home and not be out and about. I know there's lots of discussion about the shelter in place. And we want our people to be safe and not get sick. So we're keeping an eye on that. I'm in direct contact with anyone who just sniffles the wrong way. I've been talking to them. The text messaging is wonderful when you can get a hold of these young kids. That they may not answer the phone, but they'll certainly text you nonstop.
That's true. Well, we thank you so much for your time this morning and give our regards to Daniel. I haven't seen him in a while, but I think about you guys and appreciate all you've done for us over the community and so forth. Thank you so much, and we'll be in touch and probably about 10:30, right, Lago?
You bet.
Okay.
Sounds good. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Catherine.
Thanks, Catherine.
I was texting Hummel last night, and I put up on this page here a screed about what was the quote? It's time to step back, let a few old folks die from their colds, and get on with business. And before you knee-jerk react to that, just think about that a minute. That has been your sentiment going into flu season year after year after year. You've been okay with it. Hello, Hum.
I think everybody has.
Yes, they have.
And the text I got from my dad said, I say stop this panic, open businesses, and let a few thousand of us old folks die from a cold.
I'm there.
That was Dan Patrick last night on as well.
What they are doing, the politicians and the government, is so much worse than this virus, it's incredible. I just every day I'm just shocked that they're taking a deeper dive. I don't know what's gotten into these. Everybody wants to be a hero.
Yes.
And they think that what they're doing is going to position them to get reelected, maybe move up the political food chain or whatever. You know, I mean, I heard this morning on my way over here, Pelosi came up with her own bill. She don't want to do the Senate bill because bills like this should originate in the House. And so she's got her own plan. And so they're over there bickering about who gets to be the author of the bill and what's going to be in it while we have everything else going on around us. I can't help but think that it's got more of a political slant to it than a medical slant.
But you see why the local politicians are just going like, they don't want to get hung by saying, you know, being out there standing in front of the tsunami and saying, hey, common sense here. They just can't.
Right. Yeah. You'd never get in trouble for being too careful. But I think that this could be one time where it happens.
I think so, too.
Because how many millions of people have to lose their jobs before it's just not worth it? It's just not worth it for what's going on out there. I mean, I've read all these articles on epidemiology and sampling and how you can skew the numbers. And if you only look at confirmed cases, you can have a horrific mortality rate.
Right.
But you're only looking at confirmed cases. You know, they did that Wuhan study, 45,000 people. 81% of them had mild symptoms.
Right.
Didn't even get treated for anything. 81%. So how much of the country in the world should we shut down for something that most people get over in a few days? Everybody thinks that this is going to kill them. You should have seen the line. I got in the old man line at Walmart this morning. Well, I shouldn't say old man line. Old person line at Walmart this morning. And for people who don't know, they open it up on Tuesdays at 6 o'clock, an hour before their regular opening time, and they let old folks in.
Old as in over 60?
Over 60, yeah.
Did you bring your
show
walker?
an ID?
And so, no, nobody. Well, actually, on my way out, this lady, this is kind of interesting. So, a lady's coming down the aisle. She's made a run on the toilet paper, and she's got a basket full. And all these people behind me are going, aren't there limits? Aren't there limits? And there's starting to be a rumble in the crowd. I think we're going to have a throwdown. And a Walmart person stopped this lady and said, hey, limits too. And she got mad, started throwing them in other people's baskets to offload her basket and mumbling under her breath. And but when I went to check out with my two, the lady at the checkout, and I was just doing my self-check, limits 1. And I said, you need to go swap places with the person back there. You're going to be real busy. Because back there, they're saying the limit's 2. And I'm talking about 2 4-packs, okay? I'm not talking about 2 45-packs.
Right.
It wasn't a massive amount. But the lady, 1 package of paper towels, 1 2-pack, and 1 4-pack of toilet paper. But anyway.
If you have pitted prunes, will they let you take 2 packs of toilet paper? Maybe. Well, the old people, you know.
But I got a dozen eggs. I hadn't seen eggs on the shelf in weeks.
I haven't either.
Yeah.
I think we have a dozen eggs in the refrigerator now. I like fried egg sandwiches a lot.
Oh, well, do you have bread?
Yeah.
You found what you know.
Well, there are bagels. There were some of those. There are biscuits. There are English muffins. I'm not buying hamburger buns, but I did buy some other buns. But you brought up that tsunami thing. It's like we're sitting at a poker table and everybody has way too much to drink, and we're just raising. I'll see that and I'll raise it.
Yeah.
Nobody can go out for the next 30 days.
Oh, and you think 750 billion's enough? I'm going to $1 trillion. Oh, you're just going to $1 trillion? I heard Pelosi's over $2 trillion with her proposed bill.
Here's what the House wanted in that stimulus bill: erase the Postal Service debt, guarantee same-day voter registration.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We need to deal with stuff like that right now.
Reduce greenhouse emission among the airlines while we fly everywhere in our private jets. And new credits for solar and wind energy.
Yeah, see, there you go. Another example of how this is just politically oriented.
Yes.
At a time that our oil and gas industry is facing prices that are unsustainable.
What is it, $20 a barrel now?
It got down to 20. I don't know if it kept going. It bounced a little bit, came back up to 23, 24. I don't watch it as close anymore as I used to. But that, you know what the biggest driver of that is?
Yeah,
it's the collapse of the worldwide economy. They don't think they're going to have uses for it.
Yeah.
WTI is $24.94 a barrel right now.
Yeah.
Brent is $30.69. And gas is $1.69.
Got a local question here for you from Jamie Gulke over at the Bait Bucket. She says, Tyler, I think they should make the bait stands essential business. I mean, if you can't catch your own food,
Yeah.
why not?
Fish or die.
Exactly. Well, we'll find out about that. Thank you for
How is that
checking out
not
the-
essential?
Why would they order it closed anyway?
Well,
they afraid that too many people are going to gather in there?
I guess.
People don't gather around there.
Look at
They're trying to get on the water and go catch fish. Now, I will say this. On their way out, sometimes they gather and show off and talk a little bit. Shoulder to shoulder
What you
at the,
got? Yeah, I
at the
got
fish cleaning. Yeah.
But not the Bait Bucket. They're on the way to the bluff. But I don't know what qualifies as essential businesses. You look down general things like it's like,
neither does anybody else. These federal buffoons and the news media need to be declared non-essential personnel, and they need to go home.
They're trying, though, on the TV stations. They're showing their reporters home on Skype, and it's like Blake was saying, some of these things like on Fox and Friends, it's like they ask him a question, and the delay is so long, it's like you're doing satellite from the 72 Olympics sometime, and you hear like, what do you think, Jim?
Well,
I think it's a good idea.
I've asked to talk to Judge Canales this morning. I know she's busy, but I have to question who in the hell is advising her that to consider shelter in place. Somebody there has got to say, this is going to make the panic situation a lot worse. It's just a lot worse. Somebody has to stand up and say, stop. Hold on a minute.
That's right. And I'll tell you what's going to put an end to it is people saying that's enough. You people might be elected, you people might be in charge, but when you get that far out there doing crazy stuff, we're going to put our foot down because the cure that they're proposing is so much worse than the illness.
You're right.
And I don't know on a national level the number of jobs that are being lost every day, but I know locally it's fixing to be really, really bad.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about people like me losing my job, with a house that's paid for and plenty of food. We're talking about people that need a paycheck.
Yes.
And they need their health insurance. And what do they think that we'll just have them go home for a week or two? These people know nothing about business. You can't do that.
They live paycheck to paycheck. I've been there.
But it's not like they get to keep making their money. They're going to get cut loose. Their job is going to come to an end.
Unless you work for the government, CCISD is still paying their teachers.
I can imagine that there are some entities that are capable of doing that, but private business can't.
No. Certainly,
there's no way.
Your little taqueria that is right down the street from you. The owner doesn't have that kind of savings. There's no way.
It's not just you could be a really, really large employer, but if your people aren't working and making you money, how can you pay them to be home?
Yeah, Richard Lomax has cut most of his folks loose. There was I got takeout from him. They had one cook working last night.
We got to fix that.
Yeah, we really do. Blake ordered shrimp, and then it was the fifth order.
I was order number 5
all day.
I don't know if they reset after lunch or not. There was a car that pulled up behind me, and he's got all 3 restaurants working. You can get the sushi stuff, you can get the seafood from the oyster bar, and you can get stuff from the surf club.
Have y'all seen the numbers on the flu virus? There's regular old flu that circulates around the country every year.
Yeah.
You know, I was just shocked to know that in 2018, 49 million Americans had the flu, and 960,000 got hospitalized.
Yeah.
And if you just go back to October of last year through February, through last month, 45 million Americans had the flu. 560,000 were hospitalized, and 46,000 Americans died from the flu. 46,000. And there weren't lines at HEB. People didn't have to stay home. I just got no idea what's going on here with people's thought processes when they feel like they have to take the steps they've been taking.
And then you hear rumors of a shelter-in-place order. How bad was Walmart this morning? I mean, I would think
they came out there and they made us spread out.
You know, I went to Home Depot.
6 feet between all of us in the line.
You went to one on Staples.
I guess it's on Staples. Parkdale is what I call it.
Yeah, Parkdale Plaza.
Yeah.
Us old timers still call it Parkdale Plaza.
Yeah. Over there next to the Piccadilly.
Wasn't Crystal's over there too at one point?
Yeah, Frost
in the
Brothers
parking lot.
was over there. Yeah.
The Piccadilly was on the corner
actually.
where the garden center is right now. That was the Piccadilly cafeteria when I was a kid.
You got a dilly dish over there when you were a kid too.
See, I was a Luby's man growing up.
I like a Luann plate now and then.
A Luann with fish.
Yeah, that one. I don't know what it is. The stuff they put on top, kind of gelatinous and crunchy, but that's good.
I think it was like early panko crumbs.
Yeah, it could be right. They wouldn't call it panko crumbs.
Do you know how the World Health Organization calculates mortality rates?
I would think by the number of dead people.
Based on confirmed cases.
Yes.
Okay.
So if you don't factor in the millions that have it and don't have severe symptoms or ever get tested, then you're going to have this mortality rate that causes panic. If you're going to throw out your mortality rate, why wouldn't you say, now understand this is based on confirmed cases. We know there's a lot of cases where the symptoms are mild. The reports out of China are 81% of them are mild symptoms. So, there's a lot more cases, and the mortality rate is actually a lot smaller. They could explain that.
Yes, they could. And mortality rate usually is because you've got an underlying condition that has caused the death.
Well, you got that. But just the mortality rate, they're laying it up against confirmed cases only versus the number of cases of people that were actually infected with the virus.
Yes.
And they have, with this, the stealth carriers are supposedly outnumbering the people who are having symptoms 2 to 1 is what they're saying. They're testing people that don't have symptoms and haven't. That's why they're getting so concerned, is because all these people could be walking around with the virus and spreading it, and they don't even know they have it.
What?
The hysterical folks are saying, it says, if they would get more tests, we'd find out more people have it. Yeah, you'd find out more people have it, but you'd find out more people are
surviving. The mortality rate.
Yeah.
You're going to get higher incidences, but you're going to get a lower mortality rate.
But the recovery rate is higher on this than it is on most cases of flu. The recovery rate is higher. All right? Hell, the government and the media, if our elected officials, they could cause an ice shortage in Antarctica if they were given a mandate to make more ice. There's absolute no common sense in this.
I don't understand why there's not more people saying we don't need to panic here. Now it could end up being something that's really, really significant, but it doesn't appear to be in the moment.
46,000 people dead from a flu is pretty significant.
Well, we've bet
Yeah.
we've bet the farm on the fact that this is going to be bad. I mean, look at what it's done to the stock market. I mean, it's wiped out people's 401ks.
Let me ask you that. They can close the bait stand. They can close every restaurant and bar in town, and they can make it illegal for us to gather. Why can't they shut down that stock market? If they'd closed that sucker, 3 or 4 weeks ago, and just said, you know what? We're going to open it back up in a couple of months, just like they're sending home all these poor workers. Why didn't they just send the stock market off into the shelf over there and say, we'll reopen it after the panic subsides?
Well, that's just like the run on the banks in the Depression. Folks jumping out windows because their retirement they didn't have retirement then, but because their portfolio went south. This is crazy stuff. It's almost like when Orson Welles did War of the Worlds on the radio, and everybody thought it was real. Yeah. It's like we're like, where are the aliens? Like I said yesterday, it's like I keep wanting somebody to come by, pipe in Slim Whitman's Indian Love Call, and maybe this will be over. But it's not.
It is. They've done so much damage already. I don't know. Even if they were to all come to their senses today, it still is going to be hard to recover from this quickly.
It is.
And the way that they're going right now, and they're feeding off of each other and trying to outdo each other with their idiocy, I don't know where it ends.
I don't either. It does. Look, we talked about small businesses all week, and last week. We had somebody on from Del Mar, the economic development, advising people to go to the small business, the SBA webpage. The SBA webpage is not working. They have no idea how small business can apply for some monetary relief. I remember during, what was it, Ike? When I had the FEMA people on, they were telling us to go to the FEMA website for crucial information during a power outage.
Yeah? So how do you go? Fire up your generator?
Cell phone's not working. I assume we were access the FEMA website physically. This is just beyond my understanding. Every generation has its big ass problem. This is ours. This is going to turn into the Great Depression. What are the farmers going to do with a shelter in place?
They're going to farm.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
You don't have to worry about that. That's essential. Farmers are essential.
Yeah, plenty of social distancing when you're up in a tractor cab.
Yeah.
Look,
it's lonely out there on the prairie, Joe.
Any government response is good for responding late and poorly to any event. Why did I call government people second responders yesterday? Because they generally the second or later person to respond to any crisis. In most cases, you're the first responder.
Somebody's here. This is the Farenthold doorbell.
Very suspicious. All right. South Korea as of March 9th, had tested 190,000 people. They had 7,478 confirmed cases and 51 deaths. That's a mortality rate of less than 1%, 0.7%. That's a whole lot less than what the World Health Organization is saying.
Yeah.
And coronavirus should. Yeah. What are they saying? 3.4% or something.
Yep. And the flu is like 0.4%, isn't it? 0.3, 0.4%.
I don't know what the numbers are because they don't get to test nearly all the people. Have you ever been to a doctor or a hospital for the flu? Any of y'all?
No.
Yes.
I've been to the doctor one time for flu, but that was when they had the swine flu and I had it. But I had worse man colds, but there was some guy that was around my age that died 10 years ago. And I thought, well, I've been feeling kind of crappy, like 100 101, 100-degree fever with 4 Advil. I thought, well, maybe I better go. And sure enough, they stuck that. Boy, if you've never had a flu test with a wooden swab up your nose, I swear to God.
All the way behind your eyeball?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my God. It's like, hey, I didn't know you could get up there. I mean, certainly you can't get there with your finger, but anyway, it's back of the top of your head. Literally. Yeah. It's horrible.
No, but I've been to the doctor because you got to go get that flu test before they'll give you Tamiflu, which I guess they say now only knocks maybe a day off of how long you have the flu.
You remember the run on Tamiflu last year or year before last? Everybody was trying to get their hands on it. You couldn't get it without a prescription.
That's right. And if you don't take it at a certain time, it's not effective. So you have to have it within the first few days. Otherwise, it's like worthless.
I used to get the flu every year. And usually at the tail end of hunt season, late January, early February.
You were just sick hunting season was
I'd
over.
be so run down. I'd get sick. And I'd get really sick for 3 or 4 days. And it was the flu. I mean, the fever and everything. I never went to the doctor for it. I never went to a hospital. I just wrote it out. I knew it'd get better. Then finally, about 10 years ago, I started taking a flu shot.
Flu shots, right.
I haven't had it since. But I used to get it every year like clockwork at the same time. And it was brutal. But I never went to a doctor and I never went to the hospital. I just knew that I was going to feel bad for a few days. And you know what? I didn't go anywhere. Well, why do you think God makes you feel bad when you're sick? So you don't go anywhere and you don't spread it around. I mean, that's the way it works. And people who were sick aren't going to be in circulation. They're just not.
Well, that chest cold, stuffy head, I guess a fever, I don't really get achy. I just want to lay down and go into the fetal position.
There you go. You're not running around infecting people. You don't even want to get up.
But you want something so that you could breathe. What is it? That
Afrin or something. You treat your symptoms.
12-hour cold pills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
NyQuil, something. Right.
Exactly.
Well, I keep reading all these statistics, and I wonder how people can ignore all this. These aren't
because
numbers,
nobody's talking about them.
These numbers are from the very people that we are relying on for their information. I mean, the World Health Organization only using confirmed cases.
Well, the World Health Organization yesterday issued a statement congratulating China on their handling of the Wuhan flu and the transparency. I thought, if you need proof that this is a bogus organization, there it is. And most of these other countries have heavy trade deals with China. That's the problem in Italy and most of the European Union. Hell, they have shut down the European Union, and they don't allow people to cross the borders anymore. Food lines are a constant theme of socialism. I know Bernie Sanders says people lining up in lines for scarce food is a good thing, but in our capitalistic system, the food waits for you in abundant variety. And all the paper goods may be gone, but that produce at H-E-B and at Walmart is full.
I will say this, we're a lot better off than a lot of people, but I still think that most of what we're going through right now is a self-inflicted wound.
Yes.
Chuck Daffron says, yeah, but there's always that guy that has to go to work and they will go to work sick because the fear of losing their job. And that's true. Remember, you had those kids that would be in school like, they've gone 10 years without ever missing a day of school, but yeah, they probably, typhoid Mary a bunch of times.
That's true. They will. And they might infect somebody. But, there's an 81% chance, based upon the study where this disease originated, that whoever gets it's going to have mild symptoms. I don't know. At what point in time do you say, enough's enough?
We won't. Unless
I think the citizens got to push back.
Yes. some local leader has got to stand up and say.
But I think we saw the pushback yesterday because
From who?
there was a rumor that came out yesterday late afternoon that we were going to get a shelter-in-place order in Corpus Christi at a 3 o'clock press conference today. About 3 hours later, the press conference was canceled. I will guarantee you that Barbara Canales and Joe McCombs and everybody else in authorities' cell phones were blowing up with people saying, "Oh, hell no."
Well, let me just reiterate what we said before. The reason we're talking about this is Nueces County is considering a shelter-in-place order after another 6 cases of coronavirus were confirmed. The patients, the city of Corpus Christi. They are all positive cases were travel-related. Costa Rica, Ireland, Houston, New Orleans, and Spain. One of the guys that's why it's not 7. It was a test outside the area that they sent in the lab. It was a guy from New York. All of those are considered. Not community spread. They're from traveling elsewhere, so the chances they say are a lot less of it spreading that way. Plus, they're all sequestered and sheltered in place with quarantine for a long time.
Well, did y'all see the interviews? They had the mayor of Miami who's got it. You seen the interviews with that guy?
Yeah, he turned to his. What is it, city attorney? And he said, "Hey, you guys can't do that."
Yeah.
I looked for that online.
Yeah.
He wanted to have a bunch of rules about locking down Miami, and the city attorney said, "You have no legal authority to try to do that kind of stuff. Don't even think about it." And so he was exploring possible ways to do it. In other words, he knows it's against the law. He was just trying to figure out a way to do it.
All right, here's Judge Canales' Facebook post from 10/29 last night. Since this situation began, I've been in contact with my counterparts around the state to understand what they're doing and what works, so we could plan accordingly in this fast-moving contagious disease. On Saturday, we announced our first positive test for the coronavirus here in Nueces County. We knew that day would come, and we were ready. Today, that being yesterday, we received confirmation of 5 more positive tests. Again, all of these were travel-related, not community spread. Yesterday morning, 20 samples were collected. 17 were collected at the drive-thru, and 3 came from the local hospitals. On and on and on. The patients with the positive results have been notified and educated about the safety precautions for both of them, their family, and the community. All positive cases were travel-related: Costa Rica, Ireland, Houston, New Orleans, Spain, and not considered community spread. With today's testing results, the total COVID-19 cases in Nueces County sits at 6. We want to stay ahead of events. Shelter in place slows the spread of the disease so that the healthcare system does not get overwhelmed. Sheltering in place reduces the risk of those who must work so they can stay healthy. Every urban county in Texas either has or is considering shelter-in-place options. For Nueces County, I concluded that it is not a question of if we will shelter in place, but when and how. Today, again yesterday, I directed the county attorney to work with Mayor McCombs and staff in the mayor's office in Nueces County to draft options for shelter-in-place orders appropriate for our local needs and conditions. These included defining what essential activities are, such as doctor visits, food shopping, and exercise, and what are essential businesses, including health care, government, critical infrastructure, retail activities, social services, and services to maintain the households and residential businesses. We're currently working on those details as well as deciding a start date and estimated duration. We will announce when we have a clear and concise picture. I am committed to staying ahead of events by working proactively. Together, we can keep more people healthy and return to normal activities sooner. Thank you for supporting our community.
What is missing from that? I mean, that's very long-winded, in my opinion, but what is the stark absence there? Not one comment on the condition of those people.
Right.
Nowhere does it say, and each one
They're
of
all
them
at
reported
home.
no symptoms, or they reported it was no worse than a cold, or they're on their deathbed. You know,
No,
they tell you nothing.
I texted patient 0, who is a friend of mine, and I'm sure you know him too.
I do.
And he said, I am getting over this, and I'm feeling pretty good now.
And how long did it take him to get over it?
3 or 4 days.
Yeah, right. You know, that stuff's not making headlines, and that's a huge disservice, not providing more information. Just to say, you know, a bunch of people have it, that doesn't help you.
I know, but you make announcements like Barbara did, and I'm not taking her to task, but for crying out loud, all you're doing is making the situation worse, and because what? You're afraid to say, look, people are getting over this. The recovery rate on this is better than when the people get the flu, for crying out loud, because it's not attacking the young.
You think about what's going to happen to people that lose their jobs, and because they don't have a job, they lose their health insurance,
or their house.
They're just, you know, a lot of people don't carry a cushion. They don't have money set aside for if they lose their job or if something bad happens or they get hurt in a motorcycle accident. They don't have money set aside to carry them for a few months. And 2 weeks is a pay period.
Yeah.
And when you're living paycheck to paycheck, 2 weeks is a very, very long time.
Sure it is.
And they talk about, you know, April or May like it's no big deal. Well, the people that are saying that, I guarantee you, have plenty of money.
And are be getting their government paychecks.
They're not in the same situation. They need to let people go to work that want to work. That's what they need to do.
Yeah.
If people look, we know how. If somebody's sick, you stay away from them. If somebody's sick, they stay home. But you don't need to shutter businesses over this.
No.
You don't. It's a mistake.
I think it is too. But there's a glut of dumb. I mean, the only thing there seems to be a surplus of today is stupid decisions. This is
Panic-driven decisions by politicians who are afraid they will lose their job if people die. They need to be afraid they're going to lose their job because the economy is going to tank or is tanking.
Well, you know, you watch. Of course, I've seen it in person, but if you watch the National Geographic shows, you see the lions laying around the water holes. They know the zebras are coming in, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, because they got to have water. They're going to die if they don't get a drink. Well, the zebras know. The zebras know lions going to get somebody, maybe even a couple of us.
So
but they're going to come in and get a drink anyway.
Yeah.
Because some things you just have to do. The United States of America cannot provide a living wage from its own coffers for all the people that are going to lose a job. They can't do it.
No.
They don't even pretend like futility exists, and it does. It's too big a burden. They need to let things roll on. And I understand some people might get sick and die like they do from the flu. Every year, hundreds of thousands of people get sick. Tens of thousands die. I get that. But, you know, what they're doing is just creating a much, much bigger problem.
They're just going to drag out that deal where they said, you know, conservatives let your grandmother die. They pushed Granny over a cliff. That's what happens, and that's why everybody's like, well...
And it's the liberals who are doing it by stopping any of the aid packages, by throwing their pet projects in. There were Republicans and Democrats had a deal until Nancy Pelosi came back to Washington, and now they want to bail out the post office and fix the Kennedy Center and collective bargaining improvements, and air quotes on improvements, for federal employees. I mean, it's like a Christmas for the Democrats trying to tack things on to the bill to help fight this virus that they're allegedly so concerned about.
What about Richard Lomax's employees? What about Laguna Reef's employees? Where are they all of this? They don't have government pensions and all that kind of stuff. Why can't it just irks me.
Well,
Chuck says both sides are guilty, and I'm going to
agree with that.
I'm going to have to agree with that too.
I agree with
but,
that. Hey, everybody is high behind being on the team that saves America.
Oh yeah.
And you know, America's bigger and tougher than they know. And the idea that we need government to save the day. No, we need government to get out of the way so we can help ourselves. That's what we really need.
Yeah, and Josh says he's more afraid of what $30 oil will do to our economy than catching the coronavirus because we're open.
But you brought this up earlier about trying to get somebody to fix your air conditioning unit.
Yeah.
There are people that are waiting to get parts for things, and there's no shipping on some of those parts. A lot of the trucks that normally ship gizmos and left-handed transaxle wax are being set to haul food.
And they're not letting truckers into truck stops, and they're closing the rest area bathrooms. So the truckers, what are they doing? They're having to break into the back of their truck and put on the Huggies.
Like that astronaut lady.
I mean, come on. And Amazon, who at Christmas is able to deliver everything. I mean, I'm going on there, and it's giving me delivery dates in mid-April.
Yeah.
Just last week, you got microphones for us the next day.
Yeah. You can't get nothing the next day from Amazon anymore. It's taken about a week. I'm going to ask for a little bit of a refund on my Amazon Prime here, I think.
And have you seen the shortage of ammo, Hummel?
No.
There's no shortage of ammo at the Hummel household.
There's a shortage of ammo somewhere. I wouldn't be familiar with it.
Well,
but if you need some, I can help you.
I've got some.
Okay.
We found that out last week. He had his Cheshire Cat grin, like, ammo, you say?
Didn't we go through this in 2008 to 10?
We've been through this several times. Remember when you couldn't buy any 22 ammo?
Yeah.
And people were treating ammo like they're treating toilet paper for some reason. But you think about it. If people had engaged in normal buying habits instead of panicking, if people had just bought like they normally do, everybody would have had all they want, and they wouldn't have run out of anything.
Yeah.
Have you been in a store that didn't have something you needed until recently,
Paper
ever in
towel,
your life?
First time ever.
First time ever. I mean, okay, sometimes you don't have fresh yellowfin tuna at the seafood on the seafood side, but the bottom line is you always were able to get all you needed all the time. And what created the problem, the shortage, is people that went into a buying frenzy and panicked and started hoarding. That's another self-inflicted wound.
Yeah.
You know, but why did they panic? What caused them to do that? The media and the government.
Yeah.
First time I remember that was, remember when they had a run on Cabbage Patch dolls? And then it was like Tickle Me Elmo.
Tickle Me Elmo, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't remember any kind of hoarding when I was a kid. Do you? Other than, I mean, I don't remember any.
Plywood during a hurricane.
Yeah.
You know, maybe. But for the most part, you can always get whatever you need anytime you need it. And now all of a sudden you can't.
Well, I always ask that question. What is this during a hurricane run with the plywood? Does that stuff, is it a cheaper grade they sell during these times? Does it just melt?
Well, no. I mean, your plywood sits and rots in your
or people use it for something else.
Yeah, or you've remodeled or something.
It sits and rots where?
In the back porch at my late folks' house, where they had OSB. That
that stuff is gonna fall apart.
Oh yeah, well we found that out at the wrong time. You know, we had a blue tarp over it, and then we were like, hey, let's put up.
What are you talking about? That veneer?
No, OSB, oriented strand board. That stuff that they actually line houses with now for construction.
Particle board?
Yeah.
Particle board.
Yeah, it's oriented strand board.
Okay.
That's okay. It broke up like mulch. I'm serious. I picked it up like, oh, well, let's put it on the... And it's falling apart in your fingers. And we had it off the ground, not wet. Anyway.
I use galvanized corrugated metal. Season to season, it's just fine.
Yeah.
You cut yourself on it, but you're all right.
That's right. You got to handle it with care.
Yeah, you need a pair of gloves when you're putting that up.
Well, Abel brought this up just a few minutes ago, where we seem to be amplifying misinformation, and all it does is undermine leadership, and it spreads this idea of defeatism and panic. And we don't need people undermining the country at a time like this. Look, non-essential personnel and some people in elected to government office have been non-essential for a long time. And this Wuhan virus is only shining a big-ass spotlight on just how non-essential they are. Why they're still clogging up the airwaves and turning the White House daily briefings into partisan bitch fest when you're forced out of work while growing increasingly worried about how you're going to make ends meet. For crying out loud, that's going to get, well, people in a really bad and overprotective mood. The people that fuel the engine of this economy are left in limbo while bimbos like, well, pick a talking head, prattle on about how this is going to be Trump's Katrina. That just doesn't seem right to me.
Everybody thinks they can use this to their advantage to defeat the other side. The Democrats think they can bury the Republicans with it, and the Republicans think that they can carry the day in November.
And we're burying the man on the street with it.
That's right.
It is sinful. It is sinful is the only word I can come up with to describe it.
They need to put the politics aside, and they need to think about America. And instead of trying to be a hero, they need to think about more practical ways to help the country.
Obviously, they think we're going to get over this with some of the unrelated BS they're trying to stick into some of this legislation, too. Oh, there's just... I mean, to me, that's indication they know it isn't going to be that bad, or they wouldn't be trying to bail out the post office in the middle of it.
I can't pretend to get in the minds of those people. I can't even get there.
When's the first lawsuit?
Been there,
coming?
done that, been home.
You're a lawyer. When's the first lawsuit for somebody like in town saying, like, "Hey, this is not legal"? Like the Miami mayor.
It's all sovereign immunity. It's a governmental function.
No. You can't violate people's civil rights. A governmental entity cannot violate civil rights.
I mean, you've got the right to peaceably assemble.
There you go. That's one example. Look, the city attorney in Miami told the mayor, "Hey, you can't do that. You may think it's best, but there are limits to what you can do. You might be the mayor, but you don't get to tell the world what to do. They have their limits. They can make suggestions, but if they think they get to start issuing orders, they might have a problem."
Well, Massachusetts and Maryland joined with the rest of these people in the Northeast on that lockdown, and I'm sitting there waiting for one of those governors to say, "We're declaring martial law." I mean, the mayor of Baltimore on Sunday begged the citizens to stop shooting each other so they could use hospital beds for the coronavirus.
Well, you never know. If they're listening, they might say, "All right, we're going to call a ceasefire," and it could help.
Look, when Joe McComb made that statement a week ago about you got to stop the panic buying, stop hoarding, I thought, well, and I don't mean this in a bad way. Here's a perfect example of wasted breath, because the people that are doing that ain't listening, and they still haven't listened, and they have not a clue. Who was it? We go over to somebody's house, and they got up on a shelf in their garage, roll after roll after roll of toilet paper.
Yeah.
You store that stuff in your garage, you're going to have rats and mice.
Oh, yeah,
and
making
possums.
nests out of it.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
In a heartbeat.
Well, you heard about that checkpoint case, didn't you?
No.
Where they busted that load of cocaine with all the toilet paper hidden inside of it?
Ah. See? We can't have that.
You know, I keep forgetting I need to get a touch screen up here with a soundboard on it with a little
with rim shots.
Gosh,
Chuck Daffron says, let's get over it. City Park Twister games. You talk about something they'll spread a virus.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and Cynthia has 2 comments. The cities are trying to out-liberal themselves. San Antonio versus Dallas. It's crazy. Liberals dream to ruin America. And then she posts a little bit later, let the North lock down and let Texas go. We have lots of room to spread out.
That's another point.
Yeah.
More than half of all the cases in the country are in New York State.
Yeah.
You stack them deep, you have those problems.
We mentioned
there's
that.
just too many people over there.
Well, Dr. Rose brought that up yesterday when you got hundreds of thousands of people being served, or millions, by one hospital. In Texas, it's 52,000.
Something like that, wasn't it?
Per bed.
Yeah. Per bed or per hospital?
Per hospital, I think.
I think per hospital.
Yeah, the true number, though, needs to be beds. Would be the most reasonable number. Hospital beds per person, per capita.
If the people who ask for our votes every year would just tell themselves in these meetings, they've got to freshen the air in there because they're all breathing each other's panic breath. The government response is good for what? Responding late and poorly to any real event. Think about the problems we had with trees being down on power lines. Who were the first responders? Neighbors with chainsaws.
We wanted to do that before with this whole thing, but we said we can't roll up our sleeves because we're not supposed to touch anybody. So Cody Bates writes, have any of you guys checked the increase in death rate due to every percentage point of unemployment increases?
That's going to heighten increase because of suicides.
Yeah, and add the misery index in there too.
Put the misery index. I mean, sure, there will be people that die, but the misery index, gee willikers, that's a good question. I don't know that they're going to ever calculate for that, because what they get to do with what they're doing right now is that when this turns out to be what a lot of doctors and scientists thinks it is, just another coronavirus that we've had
flu,
since 1965.
Another flu.
Once that happens, these people are all going to stand up and they're going to pat themselves on the back and they're going to say, we did it, man. This would have been so much worse but for our actions.
And there will really be no way to tell.
There will be no way to ever show that they did it all without effect.
Yep. What would have happened anyway?
Right. Or that their proposed cures shutting down the world's economies was much worse than the virus would have been if they just allow it to run its course like they do with the flu every year.
What happens when it comes back in fall, though?
If you look at the history of coronaviruses, they don't come back. They don't come back.
They just evolve into something
else. They last a year.
Else.
No, they die out.
Josh Rogers, headline, Jim Lago calls for neighbors with chainsaws to solve the coronavirus problem.
Walking down to City Hall, instead of torches, pitchforks.
And hey, Tyler, real quick, do you want to address Edith's comment?
Was there so many people where the roads need to be closed? That's what they were saying, because the order that was out was if you have gatherings of more than 10 people and they're closer than 6 feet together. That's what happened. What I thought, Packery is a good example, and Hummel knows this. When you get fish on, people get close to you, like where there's a spot where there's a bunch of sheep's head. They kind of tend to get close to you, or at the end of the jetty where there's a bunch of Jack Crevalle or Spanish mackerel. You got to get to the end of the jetty. What happened, I understand, was that folks were out there, and some of them, for that matter, North Packery at Zahn Road, they were gathered, I think, on Sunday, just having a good time, and they saw that they were too close together. So they made that. I mean,
Throw a flag.
yeah. So somehow the Corpus Christi police decided they'd close off the entrance roads at Zahn and over at Newport Road. That hacked a lot of people off. I said, well, I'll just go over there to the end of Windward and go pack South Packery. So then they did that as well.
So we've got County Judge Barbara Canales on the hotline.
Judge, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Sorry, I was just a minute or two late.
No, you're not late.
I know.
We're just discussing
Okay.
this. We're just discussing how bad we think this shelter-in-place idea is.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's back up and start with yesterday, if it's okay, so we can get some accurate messaging. Would that be all right with you? And then we'll
Sure.
transition into that
Sure.
conversation.
Absolutely. Go
Okay,
ahead.
so just because yesterday evening, we were given the news at my office from the health authority that we had 6 more positive cases, all travel related. There was some misreporting, which is understandable because sometimes when information comes quick, you miss something or misunderstand. We do not have any patients in the hospital currently that have a COVID-19 diagnosis, but there might be people that are waiting to be tested. But the accurate number right now is 7, 6 of whom are residents of Nueces County. So 1 is not a resident of Nueces County, and they need to be counted for epidemiological data purposes in their home county. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands that it's a total of 7 cases confirmed by Nueces County's testing, but only 6 of which are residents, and none of which are in the hospital, and all are travel related that we know of,
Right.
as the best of my knowledge right now. And that's where I want to, it's always helpful to get accurate information, and I thank you for the opportunity.
Sure. Patient 0
Okay.
says he's getting better. It's not as bad as it was a couple of days ago. How come we don't talk about
I know,
the
that's so
recovery
great.
rate? We're not hospitalizing people. It just makes me wonder. You're a businesswoman. Mayor McComb is a business person. You're surrounded by people with government jobs who, and if the government were actually
Yeah.
efficient at things, aside from taxing where money is on the line, they don't even give fishermen a break on putting food on the table.
Right. So let me just say that, number one, the name is ominous, but the orders are very pro-business, and it's really important. And that's why I wanted to jump on, despite the fact I should be on an EOC call right now with the mayor. But I'm going to get on that call right after this. But I know you have a nice listening audience as far as, how many people listen. And so I wanted to assure people, number one, we should wait to hear from myself as the county judge the details before we rush or jump to conclusions. Number one, every major urban center in Texas is either weighing this option by understanding it, having people draft it so they can see what it looks like, or they've enacted it, like Dallas, Austin, San Antonio, Waco, Fort Worth, and I understand possibly Harris today. Those are your largest urban centers. Well, Waco is not, but I think the reason they did it is because they're in halfway between Austin and Dallas. But the reason that the county judge, those county judges have put that together is because of the advice that they are getting from their health authorities, which happen to be incident commanders over this event. That means they rank higher than the county judge when it comes to public health and safety. Let me repeat that. An incident commander for this particular event is your health authority. And so that's very important to understand. However, under the government code, only the county judge can control ingress and egress of the geographical location that is the county. So therefore, I wanted to understand yesterday the orders that I saw happening all over the state. And of course, we asked for that. I met with mayors from all over the county yesterday morning and to hear their concerns and what resources they needed. And then that transpired into a conversation with Mayor McComb and Manager Zanoni. And then because the mayor of Port Aransas could not participate in my morning meeting, I phoned him in the afternoon thinking maybe his meeting was over. I was able to visit with Manager Parsons, and I asked him before they took action if we could collaborate so that it could be an opportunity to work together before we issue orders that might affect one part of, let's say, our coastal environment, but not all of our coastal environment. And they said they would welcome that. That's how that got transposed into imminent orders are coming. It's very true to say that we had yesterday morning, before we even knew that we had, new patients, that we wanted to make sure we knew what our options were. You never want to say that you're going to do something without understanding what you're doing.
Right.
If you look at, let's say, the Dallas order, there are so many exemptions that in essence, all this order really does is strengthen in the firmest possible way all that we have already been saying, with one major exception. Where there is business that's contact one-to-one, like, for example, nail salons or, and some of these are already mainly covered by the governor's order, gyms, where there is too much one-to-one contact, those businesses are targets for this virus. And so therefore, those would not be considered essential critical infrastructure. They wouldn't be government. They wouldn't be essential business. A garden center, for instance, could be considered an essential business because they supply, in essence, a food source. There could be so many. Construction is both residential and commercial is considered an essential service. Government, the courthouse, the jail, the juvenile center, social services, all of those are still part of the exemptions under government service. The transportation, the maritime, and I could go on and on. Childcare, healthcare. I mean, there's so many that I fell asleep last night looking at them all and trying to tweak them for our local community. Having said all of that, I would never make a move to do something like this without collaborating, because this is too important to not work with my other mayors or the other, affected jurisdictions. Some don't always have mayors. Sometimes we work with superintendents, for instance, like in Banquetti. However, the burden falls upon my shoulders, and it is a heavy burden. And you're absolutely right, Jim. I am pro-business to the max. And that's why if you saw that an order would come out of our office or even be drafted, it would be drafted in a way that would continue business in our community, save and except those places where one-to-one contact cannot happen, because this virus loves that type of business. And that part is tough, but the governor has almost taken care of that for us because he has singled those types of businesses out. Does that help at all?
Yeah, it does. But, at one of the one of the first press conferences, it was Judge and you and Mayor McComb reminding people to stop the panic buying. And there's where we are. The food lines are a constant source of panic and fear. And every time we hear something from a press conference, it seems like you guys are just upping the ante to make the panic worse.
So I've done everything I can to, and I'll continue to do more, to make certain that there is calm and not panic. But the way that we can beat this, and I've told everybody we can beat it, is by our own behavior. We control our destiny now. And it's for us to make certain that we can help in that controlling of our destiny with our messaging. I sent out a video message. I sent out some email last night when I knew that things were being reported that were jumping the gun. And I tried very hard to let people know that while I might be working on optionality, that I was committed to staying ahead of events so that we wouldn't find ourselves in a, well, why didn't you act quickly?
Right.
This is very, very important in order to be ready and prepared. And remember, I get to hear things that I wouldn't want the average person to hear, right? But I try my best to communicate all factual activity regarding status. It doesn't please me to let everybody know that when they got home for dinner last night that they heard that there were 6 more cases. That's kind of like a good way to ruin your meal. But it was important that we let people know, but there was no big press conference because our status is going to change now over time. Once you get that first case, you know that the foreseeability of getting the second and the third and the fourth are very, very likely. So from now on, it's very important that when you do have a press conference, that you do try to accurately message facts, not fear. But it is hard to control human behavior in the sense of the HEB lines, right? Yeah, that part is very tricky.
Yeah, like on our
any trickier?
I'm sorry.
On
our Facebook page, Jerry is saying shelter in place just promotes panic. And that, I think that's one of our concerns here is, are we going to start with this talk of where we're most likely going to get into a shelter in place at some time in the future? Are we going to start another run on HEB?
Yeah. So let me just say that Dallas is a city of millions. Houston is a city of millions. Austin, San Antonio, we literally are home to 3 of the largest top 10 cities in the country. There is no doubt in my mind that they too faced the same dilemmas and the same concerns that are being accurately and fairly articulated to you right now about panic and about, whether this hurts business. This virus is the culprit. This virus is the enemy of business. There is no doubt about it. And nothing I have done or will do will take away from the fact that this virus is our enemy. And my duty is to protect the health and safety of our community. And that's in every move that I've made, starting on Jan 24th, because that's when we started to journal this and document it in our Nueces County Auditor's Office. We've been trying to stay ahead so that we can really blunt this curve. Now, let me tell you 2 good pieces of news. In addition to counties doing shelter-in-place orders, which, again, are ominous because you've got to understand them. I just think we should retitle them because it's not a lockdown. It's not meant to be a lockdown. It's meant to say, we mean what we say. Please stay home if you can. If it's not essential, stay home. And so, having said that, it's essential to eat. It's essential so you can still do your drive-thrus. It's essential to go to the store. It's essential to go to the bank. It's essential for business to keep operating, manufacturing and ships to keep coming in. It's not what you think it is, but it is meant to be firm. And so the kids that are, kind of still maybe on extenuated spring break and or holiday need to understand that this means you shouldn't be running around town when you have nothing to do around town.
Judge,
you should go for purposeful events, right? That's very important. The same thing for all of us. If we take this seriously, we can beat it. Like I said, it's very rare that you can control something this mysterious and weird. And our behavior can help us. And by the way, most of these orders expire within 2 weeks time frame. And why is that? So that you can see if it's effective or not. But business around the globe is being affected.
I know, but 2 weeks is a long 2 weeks is a long time for people that are living paycheck to paycheck, for God's sakes.
That's right, and that's why those exemptions are so broad. They're so broad. Have you had the opportunity to really look at some of the orders? Because they're very, very pro-business and very broad, only circulating those particular, laser focusing on those particular places that, as I said, half of which have already been covered by the governor's order, but are one-to-one contact, where if you followed the rules, there's no way you can get your nails done and stay 6 feet apart. It's impossible.
Judge, I've got a question for you. This is Tyler.
Yes.
I've been going back and forth with the fishing community, the people on the island. We talked about the county and being able to fish at Bob Hall Pier. Is a fishing guide essential? Is a bait stand essential?
It is to Barbara Canales, and that's why I drafted an order, I would put fishing, boating, and sailing in there. If you see an order, it's going to have uniqueness to our community. And quite frankly, I can still see surfing being included, because that's a one-on-one activity. You don't surf with somebody else. Having said all of that, I only caught a squibbit, just a little squib of what you were saying before I jumped on the call. But I thought I heard you talking about Zahn Road and Newport Pass. And what happened this weekend is that CCPD was using a lot of resources to control crowds in those areas. And so they made a decision on their own, which they have the right to do, to control and enforce the orders that have been in place by the governor and by Nueces County to limit these social gatherings to 10. And so that's why that happened. But yes, there is an effective way to do this. Having said that, there's always the opportunity for behavior to change and for orders to change. So it's basically, you can control your destiny. If everybody does this right, you can still do those things that you enjoy doing, but you have to do them very responsibly. And this time, it's not me asking. It would be here is a guideline set forth in a document called an order that gives you a framework. And I'm certain that no matter what I say, I will have forgotten somebody. That's what we call the power of amendment, right? And so there is nothing iron about me. I am a pliable thinker.
Yeah. Well, the problem is where do you the line drawing is what's going to get you. This is Blake, Judge Canales, and we've got some people on Facebook that are saying, all right, what is and isn't going to be essential. I'm in the process of selling my house. Is real estate going to be essential? Am I going to be able to get the guys to come put the new roof on that my contract requires before I can sell my house? I mean, where does it? Where what about the people who work in the manufacturing facility that make a part necessary for something that is essential?
So I would say to you that, number one, keep them coming, because those are the types of things that I think about. And anytime somebody says to me, have you thought about this? Most of the time the answer is not so much I thought about it, but other county judges in urban areas 10 times our size thought about it. And so, yes, they included it, like some of the ones you mentioned, like real estate. All of those transactions can still take place in Dallas. Roofing can still take place in Dallas. All of the ones you mentioned would be yeses. Manufacturing, I don't remember the fourth one. All of those could take place. This is a lot like you getting a diagnosis, but you don't go to the doctor to find out what that diagnosis means. I would ask that, as they say, let me get a chance to get back to work this morning on the document that's being given to me as an option. And if I believe it's in the best interest of our county, that's what you elected me for, is to be smart, to make good decisions based on data and based on the advice of the people that are really, as I said, incident commanders in this position, which are our health authority. Having said that, if you have something for me to consider, you guys know how to get a hold of me or my office. I'd love to consider it. But everything you've said would already have been part of the Dallas order, except for fishing.
Well, now
fishing is mine.
I
put fishing in.
Well, listen, Judge Canales, I really appreciate your taking time to clear it up. And Please keep your schedule open so we do have some time to continue to talk about this as it develops. We've got a lot of worried people worried about small business, and hearing it from the horse's mouth, not calling you a horse, but it certainly it reassures people and restores a little bit of confidence, but everybody is worried. We appreciate you taking time. I know you've got your emergency management meeting to attend.
I do, and I appreciate you all, and keep your good thoughts coming. Let me just say one last comment. We are going to beat this. We are going to come out on the other side, and I'm not panicked. I'm confident in our leadership. But we need to make certain that we can support good decision making based on good evidence. And so that's where we'll start this morning, collaborating, talking about data, and making sure that we're always connected to the community to hear their concerns. And I want to thank you and Jim and Tyler this morning for giving me that chance.
Well, we appreciate it, and we'll stay in touch. You're listening to Lago in the Morning with Blake and Tyler, your neighborhood radio.
You practice, you prepare, and you compete. But being a teammate means much more than working together for the win, especially when it comes to player safety. This includes concussions. There's simply no denying that these are serious brain injuries that call for serious precaution. Every game and every practice, you need to be following one simple rule with concussions. When in doubt, sit it out. It's up to all of us, not just players, but coaches and parents. Let's keep our head in the game, and when in doubt, sit it out.
More than 500 million pieces of litter are thrown onto Texas highways and beaches each year.
But if every person in Texas picked up just 2 pieces of trash each month, our roads would be litter-free in 1 year.
And we need to take care of our coastline and marine life too. Please join Adopt a Beach and help keep our state's 367 miles of beach trash-free.
Let's all do our part to keep trash off our roads and beaches. Don't mess with Texas and Adopt a Beach. Keeping Texas beautiful for 30 years.
You pledged your life to serve, to make our country stronger, safer, more free, more equal. You worked tirelessly, made sacrifices, missed first steps and birthdays, lost loved ones. At VA, we don't see the setbacks endured. We see lessons applied and passion driving you upward and forward. We don't see all the masks you wear, but we hope you can set some aside. We embrace your uniqueness and won't trivialize your past, your fears, or your hardships. We can't promise to heal all wounds or wash away all trauma, but we do see hope, a path forward, a future. We see all veterans. We see you. An opportunity to help you achieve a new mission, whatever that may be. Learn how treatment works and recovery is possible. Visit maketheconnection.net.
It's Lago in the Morning with Blake and Tyler. Mike Hummel is in the box. And remember, it's the first 5 days after Sunday that are always the hardest. True governmental paradox where bureaucrats, and I'm not laying this at the judge's door, but she brought up a couple of things that just remind us how paradoxical this whole thing is. Schools are closed, but daycares remain open. You can have the grimiest, most germ-laden creatures on earth, first graders, congregate for 7 hours at school. No, that's wrong. But having those same infested viral fermentation pots play together for 11 hours at daycare, that's okay. I guess daycare workers need a better union. Reasonable people could work together and come up with a definition of what's essential. Couldn't we? You mean to tell me that we can't go, that's close enough to that person. That's as far as I need to get. I don't need to get any closer. Do we follow each other around shoulder to shoulder or front to back? No, we don't. We don't have those crowded streets like everybody else does. In New York, you could actually bump into people walking down the street.
Yeah, we've been here for almost 3 hours now, and I haven't touched a single one of you.
And that's why I don't know that following guidelines from Dallas and Houston, not only the biggest populations in the state of Texas, but some of the biggest populations in the entire country, and that's going to be our guideline.
Our guideline should be: there are people, a lot of people who live paycheck to paycheck. How are they going to live? We're going to kill them before the virus gets an opportunity.
We can definitely destroy lives by the way we handle this. And I think that the unwillingness of government to talk more about how these people are doing, you never hear them say, hey, we might have 6 cases here, but, they've been very, very mild symptoms.
Yes.
They describe it as very similar to a cold, and they're not even remotely concerned about being infected.
That's why I asked the judge, why aren't we talking about the positive things of this?
Well, I'll give her this. She said that they're not in the hospital, but I don't think that's going far enough. I think that you need to pass the information on. I know what the fear is.
Yeah.
The fear is that once people find out that it's not like the movie The Fog, where it slides underneath doors and kills everybody that comes in contact with it, once people find out that it's just another flu virus, then they will act more normal, and that might scare them. But you know what? The truth is what the truth is, and if it's not what should create the level of concern that they're trying to inspire, they just need to live with that. They need to live with that. If it's very, very similar to having a cold, they should be willing to say it.
Well, you're not making a decision because you're afraid you're going to be wrong. What is the problem with saying, I was wrong about that? Honest to God.
I'm afraid some of the politicians are now getting afraid to back off because they're, oh, my God, I tanked my constituents' 401k over something that wasn't nearly as serious as we thought it was going to be. Again, I can tell you the mindset of a politician because I watched it firsthand and fought every day to avoid slipping into it. It's like I'm out here to do what's best for the nation, morphs into, well, me continuing to serve is best for the nation, morphs into, I've got to get reelected no matter what the cost.
Yeah. And
I can't make any decision that's going to jeopardize that, even if it's the right decision.
I think the judge was doing well measuring everything because it's really, if you have all these exemptions, it's like, well, what's different? I mean, a lot of folks are kind of acting like that right now, and we have for the last week. But I appreciate the fact that she clarified the stuff with my constituents, the fishing community and the outdoors folks and Humboldt folks, because well, what can we go over there? Can we go fishing? Can we go down the beach? Can we go so-and-so? Can we go to Bob Hall Pier? She's always been an advocate as far as that goes. It's this whole time as far as that goes. But
all right, so who gets shut down besides movie theaters and restaurants?
Nail salons and barbers.
Nail salons and
barbershops.
Restaurants, bars.
Greg Silverman said they're shutting his shutting his office down.
How can a doctor's office be considered
essential? I would
I'll tell you how it works. I'll tell you how it works. All they got to do is tell a surgeon that there will be no elective surgeries.
Yeah,
the governor said that.
Mm-hmm. That's my point. Yeah. I happen to know because my brother's a surgeon. Look, I understand what they're saying. We need to have these beds and we need to have all these facilities available for this tsunami that's coming. But look, all those surgeries that didn't happen last week, all the surgeries that aren't happening this week, we could have people working. Those surgeries could take place.
Yeah.
The hospitals aren't overwhelmed. They're not. I think the time to cancel all elective surgeries is when we start getting a bunch of people coming in, and you shouldn't do anymore.
And maybe you don't bring your entire family down while grandma gets her hip replaced.
That would be a
you
good
just
idea.
bring one person down and have them send out text messages with status updates.
I would be surprised if productivity of home workers wasn't greater than working in a traditional office setting. I read a statistic the other day about work after college. It said that up to 2/3 of the average office worker's day was wasted. How do office workers waste time?
On their cell phones?
On the internet?
On the internet?
On the coffee breaks?
Smoking or whatever.
Yeah.
Sometimes 2 hours or more.
Yeah, gossiping around the water cooler, talking to your friends about what you heard on Lago in the Morning with Blake and Tyler.
And before you snicker, about the same time I read that, there was one below it that said something like 40% of industrial repairs fix the wrong thing. It's hard to take a steel smelter home to fix it unless you sneak it out in a really big lunchbox.
Og says no gathering of people out on the opening beach, but HEB is packed constantly. Giving the police a chance to hand out $1,000 tickets based on well-being is a bad idea. Amen.
I don't think they're going to be handing out $1,000 tickets. Do you?
I don't know how they get around freedom of assembly. I don't know how they can.
You declare martial law. This is about the only way I know you
No,
do
they
that.
could say we're concerned about the spread of a virus, but their concern doesn't translate into an emergency, local or state or national.
Well, we'll soon be seeing what government bureaucrats feel is essential. Most of you better be hoping that it includes beer. I've noticed there's no shortage of beer at HEB.
There's no run at the liquor stores yet either.
Yeah, but let me tell you something. Those beer people are getting hammered. Our buddy in St. Louis, the Anheuser-Busch guy with Lower Distributing, all the sporting events, baseball season, they supply the city of St. Louis, including the stadium.
Yeah.
Everything that's getting canceled,
I know.
Beer sales are just tanking. It's a disaster.
Anheuser-Busch is making hand sanitizer, though. I did see that.
They got to do something to make up for the lack of beer sales.
So is Tito's. Remember, they've said try using it. And they said, well, we don't have a high enough alcohol content. It's got to be 60%. Well, Tito's is coming out with hand sanitizer, too. So it'll be one of those collector things.
So you can mix it with orange juice or pour it on your hands. Either way. That Tito, he's a creative dude. All right, guys. Y'all have a good day. Good luck.
All right, and my wife texted and wanted you to assure us that when we get our $1,000 assembly ticket, you'll represent us.
Yeah, I'm in.
All right.
Yeah, tell Speed Racer I got her covered.
It's good to see you, hon.
Always a pleasure, guys.
Thank you, Mike. Next time you go to that old folks thing at Walmart, call me.
Yeah, I'll get you.
Okay.
Did I shame you into coming because I was the only voice saying, hey, the recovery rate on this is really high? God. If my COVID-19 test comes back positive, I'm going to say to the doctor, wait, you don't understand. I have 3,000 rolls of toilet paper. That can't be right. God.
I took a picture of the desk here. I don't know if you would. Can I post it to our page?
Post it.
We got labels, Mountain Dew Zero, and a gun.
Well, I tell you, it's interesting because I'm packing to move, and there are like more boxes in the studio pretty much every single day. So we get a little peek behind the.
Wait. It's like you have your mom's china cabinet all over the place, and a considerable one, a very nice silver and plates.
My grandmother was a real collector of china, and we're talking to Steve Arnold. He used to publish the Caller Times. Now he has Corpus Christi Mercantile, and it's a resale shop, and he does estate sales. So we're, as we downsize into a smaller house, we're selling off some of the stuff. Now estate sales are not essential. They've shut Steve down from coming into houses to do estate sales, but he's going to take a lot of the stuff down to Corpus Christi Mercantile and sell it there.
I wonder. Would pawn shop be essential? I mean, it is essential for folks that need the money, especially for somebody out of business. What do you think?
I think they're going to consider most retail to be
essential
because they're things you're going to need, and where you draw the line as to what's essential and what's not in retail, that's a slippery slope you start to go down. But I mean, you see the obvious things. What about law offices? Is a law office going to be essential?
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Most lawyers, though, have the ability to work from home, and if they don't, they can just download Go to My PC and put it on their office PC and work. Maybe they have to go into the office to get a file once a day or so, but other than that, most of that could be done remotely. I do think we're going to see a boom in telecommuting, and we're going to have an opportunity to see how it really works. There are a lot of people skeptical about letting people work from home because they figure, they're just going to be cleaning their kitchen and screwing around while we let them work from home. But there's absolutely no reason you can't I'll take a lawyer, for example. You can't forward your calls to somebody who can then forward the calls out to cell phones. So you forward your calls to a receptionist. You can talk on the phone and tell your secretary what you want to type up. You can, some lawyers still dictate. You can do that online and email them the file to transcribe. A lot of this can be done at home, and I think we may open up some trust for companies allowing people to work from home. I mean, that may be a positive out of that.
You make fun of me wanting to get out to peruse HEB. I worked at home for over 20 years, and so it's like I've seen enough of my house. I'm good with my house, so I like to get out. And they close the athletic club and HEB, and if they have the beach, then I'm just about done.
Hey, shout out to Wendy Herman. She found some paper towels and bought me a pack. She said she's going to drop it off on my back porch. I'm going to have to zell her some cash for that.
All right, I'm going to start the Introvert Club, and the first rule of the Introvert Club is there is no Introvert Club, and that makes us happy. I read that 56% of the population in California is projected to be infected with the Wuhan flu in the next 8 weeks. How do they do that? If you're sheltering in place, how does that happen? Aren't you just admitting defeat?
I don't know. And sheltering in place is, I don't think, going to be as bad as people make it out to be. I don't think it's going to be much different from what we're doing right now. At least I hope not.
I wonder.
But what rubs me the wrong way, and as much as I like Judge Canales and as much as confidence I have in Joe McComb as a business person, the thought of the government telling me what is essential and what is not just gets my hackles up.
Yeah, it does.
And, there are always going to be some fools out there. There's always going to be somebody that said, well, I'm going to open my restaurant, the heck with them. I don't necessarily think that. And I got to be careful what I say. No, I don't need to be careful about what I'm going to say. I'm going to say what's on my mind. Somebody owns a restaurant. They want to open it. Let them open it. And if somebody gets COVID there, they can sue them.
No. Why would you sue them?
But the government shouldn't be the one to tell me I have to shut down my business. You should practice common sense.
You could step off the curb and get run over by a bus. I would sue over that.
Well, you step off the curb and get hit by a bus. The bus was speeding, and you're going to sue the bus driver. Of course, Thomas J. Henry will take that case in a heartbeat.
When I go to Walmart or to HEB, especially HEB, I always run into 2 or 3 people I know. In general, we're really polite in modern Mayberry. Because we all know each other, and we know that we're all in this together, except at outside of Irish pubs where we ritually sacrifice one of our own, pick through a random lottery, I guess.
And Cynthia has a great comment. Starting today, speakeasy restaurants. Only smart people get the code.
I like that. That's a great idea.
High prices are the cure for high prices, and low prices are the cure for low prices. Look, there was enough meat I saw the day before yesterday in HEB to feed the Dallas Cowboys.
I didn't see any kind of I didn't see anything missing yesterday afternoon at 3.
Shortage of meat? No.
And they had lunch meat too. They even had cheese for a while there. All the block cheese was gone, but they were, with the exception of the toilet paper and the paper towels yesterday, and a little bit they only had the Goya beans. As far as dry beans, they had 10 packages on an end cap. The rest of it was gone, but that was pretty stocked.
The dry beans are dry beans.
Yeah.
I mean, it's what you put in them when you make them that gives them the flavor.
I got some ham hocks to smoke still in the.
I got a couple of things of salt pork.
I
and
do
some
too.
Bacon. My daughter's boyfriend Joe had us over a couple of nights ago, and he was cooking up beans with chorizo.
Yeah,
and that was pretty tasty.
I got some chorizo yesterday as well, because that's the only thing I didn't have. I've got all kinds of sausage and feral hog still from Charlie Gola and Chris Gola, and I've been hammering that. I've got a haunch that I got over from the DeVilbiss Ranch last St. Patty's Day that I'm thawing out for the weekend. So I'm doing good as far as that goes. And I mean, the only thing I'm buying from HEB as far as protein is on occasion tuna.
We may have to have the Tyler Thorsen Speakeasy Restaurant open at my house by invitation only. Me, you, Lago, and my wife.
You've got
and
that,
Mrs. Lago.
You still got that huge Weber out there, don't you?
I actually have a brand new Weber grill that I need to put together. My old one is the bottom part that controls the air underneath rusted out.
That does happen on occasion around here. But I've been doing stuff. This is probably over their heads. I've been doing stuff with sous vide, because a lot of times feral hog is not. They're not.
They're not tender.
Well, yeah. So what I was doing with these, I'll take some like leg meat and put it in a sous vide bag at 140 degrees. That sous vide is a fancy way for giving it I call it a hot tub time machine.
Yeah.
You vacuum seal it, and then you put it at 140 degrees for the feral hog for about 4 hours, and then when you're done with that, you flash, cool it off, and then you marinate it, whatever you're going to do with it, and then cook it back up to 140 on the grill and put some stirrup marks on it. It's tender.
Yeah, the trick to the feral hogs is to trap them and then
feed them corn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, these the one I got from the Golas one of them came from the Aransas Wildlife Refuge. So there was no corn feeders out there, and that one was actually very good. It had a lot of fat on it. So sorry this turned into a wild game show, but we are talking about surviving on our own without the grocery store. So maybe that's works in perfectly.
I am again not worried about. I am not worried about groceries. I am annoyed by the fact they haven't staffed up quicker to be able to do pickup and delivery. I think you're still pretty close to a week out on pickup and delivery from HEB or Amazon, which is used to be that get you anything known to God and man the next day, and now it's taken. They're not promising delivery in under a week or so. And
what were their essential items?
Well, I looked for paper towels, and it's sold out, available from this retailer at $100 a roll. Come on. So, they do say they're trying to focus on essential items, which I'm assuming are like, diapers and things like that. But
do they sell any of those respirators and the facial, the whatever,
the masks?
Yeah.
Again, short supply. I ordered a box of exam gloves. They're out for delivery today, so hopefully I'll get my exam gloves. So when I go,
you mean those rubber things?
Yeah. The nitro gloves. They're blue.
Yeah. Debbie's been off, so she couldn't steal any from the hospital. Not that she would do it anyway, but.
And you're going to do that for what?
When I go out to pick up food, I'm going to put on the.
Who brought this up yesterday? Was it you? To remind yourself not to touch your face, buy some habanero peppers and just put them on your fingertips and your thumbs. I guarantee you will not touch your face after you do it once.
Yep, the nose and the eyes goes real quick. Most people, they'll put gloves on to do that. I don't have a problem with that. I mean, it feels kind of like, when you're a kid and you fell off your bike with your hands down on the asphalt, you get that warm feeling. That it doesn't bug me, but what bugs me, if you touch your eye, and that will light you up. So.
And Kimberly says she has paper towels. She will trade for toilet paper. Let's see.
I raise you hand sanitizer, and you're on.
Well, let's see. Wendy Herman came through for me and picked me up some when she found some. Bless her heart.
Man.
I tell you again, I'm moving, so paper towels are a hot commodity. But I did buy some of these washable microfiber things from Home Depot, and they're working out all right. I'm not going to pick up doggy accidents with them, but that for cleaning off the shelves as we clear them, that they're working out nicely.
I almost had my shoe picking up doggy accidents earlier last week in here, but where's Lulu? She gone?
I think she went down stairs. Debbie took my sister's dog, who we're dog sitting for, to the vet today. So
that was big white.
That's a big white, the big white lab. So what they're doing at the vet's office, I talked to Dr. Garrett again last night. They are now only taking emergency cases, and you drive up, you call them, they bring out the paperwork for you to fill out. You call them again, they take your dog in, you wait in the car, then they bring the dog out when you're done.
It's a good idea.
I mean, a little inconvenient, but it certainly, you're not going to get nearly the exposure there. So we'll give that a thumbs up.
Well, this shelter-in-place thing is just going to add more panic to the situation.
If they're not unreasonable about it, it's not going to be bad. But again, the government telling me where I can and can't go, what can and can't be open, it's not America. And it bothers me on a visceral level. And once you give the government power, yanking it back becomes harder and harder. And what we're doing today is setting precedent that will probably be used in court in the future should the government decide for another power grab. And we are in dangerous times precedent setting right now. Forget the danger of a health crisis. And I'm, to some degree, actually to a big degree, I believe that this is not nearly as bad as it is going to be, but it's a great dry run for what happens if there is a biological attack or a Ebola type outbreak, and this is a good dry run. And I usually keep a week's worth of food in the house.
We're dead men walking.
That's hurricane preparedness. I'm up in that to 14 days. I'm not going to do it now. I'm going to wait till things settle down, but I'm going to keep 14 days worth of food in the house.
I'll call 14 days worth of food like hearts of palm and capers and pickles and all.
I'm gonna
all that stuff.
I'm gonna rotate stock through 3 or 4 boxes of macaroni and cheese and spaghetti, and I'm gonna keep my freezer full of protein.
The Democrat Party's leadership is behaving in such a way that it's causing a problem at the expense of the entire nation. Here are some excerpts from the Democrat Party's proposed third coronavirus bailout bill. All right? Corporate board diversity. Corporate board demographic data, including total number of board members, gender, race, ethnicity, identity of board members, and to the extent possible, results disaggregated by ethnic group, as otherwise known or provided voluntarily, board position titles, as well as any leadership and subcommittee assignments. improving consumer information regarding the release of greenhouse gases from flights. No later than January 1st, 2023, the Secretary of Transportation shall develop and implement by regulation a program to require air carriers that receive assistance under Section 101 provided passengers with information regarding greenhouse gas emissions resulting from each individual flight. The elimination of the UPS debt, additional borrowing authority, early voting, allowing voting prior to the date of election. Would somebody please point out to me what, if anything, these points have to do with providing relief to American citizens or corporations from the effects of this pandemic? I'm calling on you Democrat voters and supporters in particular. Come on. Precisely how do those points bring relief to Americans who've lost their damn jobs, their livelihoods, their 401ks, and the companies that are about to go under with the impact of this crisis? Anyone? Bueller? Those aren't the only points either. According to a news report, the bill includes $35 million meant for the John F. Kennedy Center for Performing Arts in Washington, D.C.
It just goes to show they don't care about the health crisis. They don't care about the people. They care about their pet policies and projects. It is sinfully wrong.
$300 million allotted for the National Endowments of the Arts and an additional $300 million for the National Endowment of Humanities. $100 million for NASA, $278 million for the IRS. That's $1 billion or so out of many more such allocations in the bill. That has nothing whatsoever to do with pandemic relief. Good Lord. Trying to force a president to accede to their policy demands using the coronavirus. So what's really going on?
Business as usual in Washington. And when they're trying to have us live our lives not business as usual.
Well, the Republican Party is not, without blame. Their proposed $500 billion fund to bail out corporations in need without any provisions for reparations from the corporations, like, surrender shares to the government for later sale when the economy has to recover. That reminded me of when Hummel brought up the fact, okay, we're giving all this land away over here to the university. Why not keep about 10 acres so when things start popping over here on Nile Drive, we can sell it and make our money back for all those ball fields we built? No, we can't do that.
I remember that.
Jeez.
Gotta love the university.
Yeah. I'll never forget Melody Cooper. I'll do anything for my, and I'm screaming at the television during that city council meeting. Get out your checkbook. Beep, boop. Get out your checkbook, Melanie. Write him a check. Of course, she's such a... Never mind.
And Jordan came on. That was me that just honked when I drove by. I went out to the window and looking to see who it was.
I thought it was one of your Amazon Prime deliveries showing up.
Boy, I'm telling you, anyone who pushes for votes on that Democrat Party relief bill should, at the very least, be tarred and feathered. At the very least.
I haven't checked. We've been watching the line on Lago in the morning feed. I haven't checked. What's the market doing? Anybody know? Somebody can pop on there.
I can do that.
Yeah, from what I understood yesterday from Jay Ratliff is that the market's already put that, knowing that the politicians are going to take time, they've kind of already weighed that in. I'm sure it's down to their 500 or something.
What?
Dow Jones today up 1,290 to 19,882.81.
Awesome.
I wish some panic buying would take place on Wall Street. It's
That's
distinctly.
it's a nice
chunk.
It's up 6.94%.
A guy he'll crawl his legs back in from the window, I guess, on that one. That's good.
Well, you were talking about stocking up when this finally subsides. Prepping means working out meal plans and deciding what you need for the number of people over the period concerned, and then buying those things according to a pre-planned shopping list. And that's good and healthy. Panic buying is dashing to the store and buying anything and everything that you decide on the spur of the moment might be useful.
Or anything that's left on the shelf.
Except for the chicken feet in the meat department. I let those lie.
Yeah, you can keep the chicken gizzards, too.
I don't know. I don't know what the need is for the toilet paper. I see no need to have toilet paper out the wazoo, should you pardon the expression. But for the next year or more, there are a lot of people that are going to wonder what they're going to do with that stuff.
Yeah, you might want to sell your Sherman stock or the Bear stock, because they're not. Everybody's going to have so much, they're not going to be buying any for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I bought fresh food, meat, vegetables, some additional cans of soup to give us a little bit more variety. I did that a couple of weeks ago before the coronavirus pandemic was, running rampant. Boy, I'm telling you, the bulk buying, I just that just escapes me.
My daughter Amanda went to Costco. She's in Colorado now, and she said they're getting better stocked. And so, going to Costco or Sam's Club is a definition of bulk buying. So I'm just waiting for the water and toilet paper to get back normal on the shelves, and then we'll be back in the saddle. Hey, we're running out of time.
Already.
It is just absolutely blown through today. We'll be back tomorrow, probably with a big announcement. We got some stuff in the works. You're listening to Lago in the Morning with Blake and Tyler, your neighborhood radio, a production of BLT Talk, LLC.